Hey everybody, it's me, John Ward, and welcome back to another film discussion. I am here with Donald Wills, who has a very awesome hat. Can you show people that hat, sir? Look at that. That's the Pennywise hat. And what's on the back of stuff? Oh, it's this whole head. That's cool. It says it. That is nice. I like that.
Took me a while to find this actually, because I was looking for it I knew I had this for a while, and I was like, "Where did I do with it?" So I tore up like my whole bedroom trying to find it, and I'm like, "I found it!" And now I left it a disaster.
If you lower it down enough, do people think you're Pennywise? Like, are you?
I'm Pennywise, the dancing clown.
Well, and you got some Pennywise up there too.
I got Uncle Pennywise up here. You know, I call the Tim Curry when Uncle Pennywise, because he's like that one creepy uncle that you like, but you don't want to be around too much. I mean, he keeps telling me, he keeps asking me to go down the drain pipe with him. I don't know what he wants me to do down there, but I'm just gonna stay away from that. And then I have a pop of the Skarsgård version of Pennywise.
Nice. And then you influenced me, so I brought out my Tim Curry Pennywise right here. So we have Pennywise watching us, which is funny because what we're doing here has nothing to do with Pennywise or it, but we just happen to have the figures out. So to let people know what we're doing is as the thumbnail suggests, we are revisiting Stephen King. We did him way back at the beginning. I think it's good to revisit from time to time Stephen King or zombies or whatever it might be, and because there's always new stuff out there. So what we're doing is both Donald and myself have picked one Stephen King film we love, one Stephen King film we don't love, and then we have a secret Stephen King film that either we like or dislike, and we have not told each other what it is. And we're going to have to wait to the very end to find out what it is. So
stick around.
Stick around and check it out. And so we have 2 movies each, and then we can move into the secret movie. And then I also have up here every actor that has starred multiple times in Stephen King movies. Because that is one of my all-time favorite things with Stephen King is the amount of actors that come back over and over again in these movies, because it's not like you're in one of his books. You're in one of his movies, and a lot of the times the movies aren't good. So, like 80% of the time the movies are good. No, that may be too high. 60% of the time the movies are good.
I'd say 60%.
Yeah,
because some of them are, good, like, decent, like high, respected directors that made them. Then you have, your, the like some of the independent movies. I think some of the independent movies are actually a little better, in my opinion. Don't hate me. But and then you get those ones that are just like so bad it's good, and then just trash.
Yeah, and it's weird is I'm gonna use Matt Fuhrer as my example here, because as I'm sure he's gonna show up on this list. So he was, for people who don't know, he was originally Max Headroom from the 80s. He was the twitchy guy, and they got him to do like a soda commercial later on, and it was like a big deal in England. And so I don't think he's been in more than 3. So he's in The Stand, which is my all-time favorite miniseries from Stephen King. He plays Trash Can Man. And then he's also in one of the movies that is on your list today. And he's also in one of the worst ones ever made, Lawnmower Man 2, Job's War, which I've said, if you thought Highlander 2, The Quickening was bad, watch Lawnmower Man 2, Job's War. And that's worse. So
I have
but he's been
not
in preview.
seen. I have not seen Lawnmower Man or Lawnmower Man 2. I want to because I'm a King fanboy. So I have not read everything the King has done, but I almost own every single thing except for
It's
the newer stuff, which I'm going to get at some point. Just no.
yeah, I'm like a couple decades behind on reading Stephen King. Movies I've kept up with, but yeah, like Lawnmower Man, if you do watch it, you need to watch the Scream Factory version because it has the theatrical version and the uncut version, which is about 30
Okay.
minutes longer, and it's
Okay.
much better. Uh,
Okay.
um, Lawnmower, and of course, that's the film that Stephen King sued to have his name removed because it literally, except for a guy who mows his lawn, it has nothing to do with the short story. Absolutely nothing. Like that's it. In fact, in the short story, it's not even a guy who mows the lawn. I forget what they're called, but it's like the top of them is human, and they got the little horns, and they got the like the goat feet, and they're hairy, like from like the waist
I know.
down.
Oh, what are they called? Fawns? No,
No,
maybe.
I forget, but that's the creature that's mowing the lawn. So it really has nothing to do with it. And King sued. But if Lawnmower Man is Highlander, then Lawnmower Man 2 is Highlander the Quickening. So
Okay.
it is so bad. It's enjoyable of how bad this movie is. So, and I even got to see it in the theater. So
Okay.
but you had mentioned before we started this, because we don't think that we did it, about how we came across Stephen King. Did
Yeah.
so how did, since it was your suggestion, why don't you go first? How did you learn about
Well,
Stephen
actually, why don't you go first? Because the movie I'm picking for my best actually is my introduction. So maybe, you know,
King? Okay, fair enough. So I don't know. I
you don't
know
know.
that
Okay.
I would see things in the theater. I know that I saw things on TV. As a little kid, I probably saw Carrie on TV, the original Carrie. I probably saw Shining on TV, but
Okay.
had no idea that they were Stephen King. Probably had no idea who Stephen King was.
Yeah.
And it wasn't until I got more into horror films and things that I realized, oh, he's a novelist and he's been written about a lot and he's written a lot of books and people have made movies from his books. And that's how I
Okay.
got into it. And then I started reading the articles and books that are about him. Like I think it's Douglas E. Winter is one of the main guys that writes about him.
Okay.
And knowing that King is just you and I, that
Yeah.
he wasn't born into a rich family, that that his family was poor, and that they owned nothing, that they pretty much lived in a shack type situation, and just knowing his background and how he sold short stories and how he grew to be what he is, I have
Mhm.
a ton of respect for, because it
Yeah.
really was coming from nothing and being that high school English teacher and then going home at night and his wife leaving him alone. They
Yeah.
just, in that trailer that they lived in, and he would
Mm.
just stay in that room for a few hours to write. And Tabitha understanding, who then became an author of her own. And then of course
Yeah.
Joe Hill, his son, became an author and all that.
Yeah.
That I think I think it is the absolute success story
Yeah.
that if you talk about the American success story, I
Hmm.
think maybe Stephen King could be it.
Yeah.
It.
It.
So that it so I for a while I went out and tried to find this is still when the internet was still pretty new. So, but I would go out and find all of the books, like the anthologies that had his short stories in them, that weren't
Hmm.
his. Like he was just one of like, 10 stories or something.
Yeah.
Because he would rewrite his stuff. And so whatever was in that book from like 10 years ago is different from what's in like Night
The
Shift or
collection,
yeah, that
like
he would
Night
even tell
Shift
you
and
that he
Skeleton Crew and
rewrote
stuff
it.
like that. Yeah.
Yeah. So things were quite, so it was great finding these stories that were different, and then
Yeah.
trying to track down like the cannibals and that story that he did with the apartment complex with all the cannibals in them.
Okay.
I've never met him. I would love to meet him. I don't know if I would want to
Same.
meet him so much these days because of his political views and how he just won't be
Yeah.
quiet about it. I mean, I just wish that he was just Stephen King, guy who wrote horror movies, and if you wanted to make a book political,
And well, to be quite honest, some people, criticize him for being political in his books. To be quite honest, he always mentioned like the current president or like a senator that was around Maine or something at the time. So I mean, he always added politics to his book. But what I liked about his older stuff was that he would always do both sides. Like, for example, in The Stand, Mother Abigail. Is it Mother Abigail or it's just I forget. Anyway,
Mother Abigail, yeah.
Mother Abigail. Okay, that's why I'm getting two things mixed up here. She said that one of her proudest moments is she got a letter from Ronald Reagan, and she said she cherished it because she got a letter from the president of the United States. So he wrote, even Reagan was a Republican. So and you know Stephen King is a hardcore Democrat. But
Oh,
he
yeah.
still, I mean, hardcore Democrat. I mean, and if you read his newer books, he doesn't shy away about how much he hates Trump.
Well,
So
he
that
even said in 2016 that that Greg Stilson is Trump from the Dead Zone.
I don't.
Even though The Shining, or even I'm sorry, the Dead Zone was written like the
back
late
in like the
70s,
70s or something.
but now he's
Yeah, he can't change
equating
it now. I mean, come
that
on now.
character, yeah, to Trump.
Yeah,
So
but it is
it,
what it is. I mean, hey, again, that's his belief. He's allowed to have those opinions. That makes him great. But I wish he would just keep the politics out of his books because that's what made his books so good. Or, even if he just said, okay, he wrote about a Trump supporter and a liberal, and just said, okay, this person loves Trump and this person hates Trump. I'd be fine with that if he played both sides. But from what I'm understanding, he doesn't do the characters that like Trump. Could be wrong, so don't quote me on that.
I mean, there's like Star Trek has always been political. I mean,
Yeah.
you can watch a lot of, I mean, the classic episode, with Kirk, you had the alien race that's black on one side and white on the other. But then the other guys are white on one side and black on the other. And Kirk goes, wait, but you guys are the same. Why are you fighting? And it was the Riddler from the original Batman TV series. He's like, no, we're not. He's black on the left and I'm black on the right. What are you talking about? Of course we're enemies. And so Star Trek is, and there was a ton of Vietnam stuff, and there's the whole episode where Kirk goes, Kirk and Spock go down to the Nazi planet, and they take the helmet off of Spock, and he's got the ears. So there's the whole Jewish allegory with Spock. So it's all, but there's a difference between having politics in something and then becoming, I don't know, very obsessed with it. So when you look at new Star Trek, it's all that. It's all it's everything from Discovery on. It to me is just garbage. And when I heard like Patrick Stewart and he was talking about the first season of Picard before it came out. He goes, "Oh yeah, the Federation is now like the Trump administration." I went, "Done, done." I didn't even like Trump, and I'm like, I don't want this shit in my TV shows. You know, it's fine to have a corrupt government in your show, but oh yeah, it's like the Trump administration. Okay, can something be about the Kennedy administration where we almost had a fucking nuclear war? You know.
There you go. I mean, my biggest gripe is that, you know, here's what I say. Have not, like, okay, this character is nodding to Joe Biden or Donald Trump or Bill Clinton or George Bush or Ronald Reagan or Barack Obama. That's fine. But when you're literally like ramming that down our throats that this is clearly this party and this is clearly this party, and it's like, come on. Let's this is supposed to be entertainment. We are watching your movies, we are watching your TV shows to escape from reality. If I want to hear about Trump, Biden, and all them, I would just watch the news at that point.
Right.
And then that's all I would ever consume is the news. But I want to watch Stephen King, which is what we're talking about right now, to enjoy a scary story, and sometimes he does thrillers and all that stuff. And that's the thing I love about King, is that he's not just he doesn't stay in one genre, he goes through different genres. But that is one of the cons I have with King nowadays.
Well, yeah, because it's almost like if they remade Stand By Me today, the Kiefer Sutherland character would be wearing a MAGA hat. You know,
I can see it.
The boys wouldn't be boys anymore. They would be
theys and thems.
Yeah.
How dare you misgender me?
Yeah.
How dare you misgender me, sir?
They would be all. Yeah, but you know, one would be missing a leg, one would have green hair, one would have a piercing in the nose, one would be non-binary, one would be gay, one would be trans, and then of course they would come up against Kiefer Sutherland's guys that would all be Trump supporters, and you know, and as I'm sure,
hey man, I think you just told Hollywood what to make. A Stand By Me remake.
No.
Thanks, John. If that happens, it's your fault.
And then they look down at the body, like Kiefer Sutherland looks down, and he's the body, like the kid's wearing like a Biden pin, and he goes, "He fucking deserved it." And just walks away, spits on him. He deserved it. That's how Hollywood would do it. That's how they would do it now. So it's so yeah, so basically my introduction to King has just been an almost a lifetime of growth.
Okay.
So it's hard to pinpoint one thing, except I would probably say would probably be Carrie or The Shining on television first.
Okay.
And then my mom taking me to the occasional movie that came out, because she knew I like horror movies, but I probably didn't know who King was at the time.
Okay.
So
cool deal.
Yeah. What about you? So let's get into your first one.
All right. Well, I'm gonna tell the story like kind of backwards a little bit, because I want to end it with the first movie, with the first movie. So my introduction to Stephen King was actually the movie I'm going to be talking about here in a minute, which later turned into me first discovering him as an author. My first book I've ever read by him is Carrie, which at the time I did not know this was his very first book, was his first novel. First novel, this first published novel, I will say, because he wrote some of the Richard Bachman books when he was like 17, 18 years old. So I a little history lesson for you there. And to finish some of your story, this when he first wrote this, he threw this in the garbage.
Yeah.
And if it wasn't for Tabitha King, his wife, digging it out, reading it, and then helping him, he couldn't figure out how to write a female character at that point. And he's like, and he didn't understand the stuff. So Tabitha helped him to finish this book, and this is what got him, to become to become the start of the author that he is today. So, and long and short of it, he owes his wife everything, and that's why I think even he writes like at the very beginning, like right here at the very, it says, "This is for you. This is for Tabby, who got me into it and then bailed me out of it."
Oh yeah. She needs, they need to give her credit for a lot of stuff, like his cocaine binges and all of that type of stuff that she's just like, if you don't stop this, like his drinking, if you don't stop this
I'm
stuff,
gonna leave you at this point.
Yeah, and then he wrote that type of thing into the books, into The Shining with with him breaking his kid's
the
arm,
drinking and stuff. Like basically every book that he wrote, especially the ones that, I think almost every one of them, there's an author in there. Well, maybe not every single one of them, but the majority of them. But he, like every time, he would incorporate a little bit of his like whatever was going on in his life, he would write it into the book, like you just said. So yeah, that's what I really liked about it. So it kind of made it feel more personal. So anyway, this was the first book that I read. I read this in high school because, I don't know how schools work today, but back when I was going to school, which was like 14 years ago, we had to read a book and then we had to take a test because we had to read in order to pass. And we had to get so many points and all that stuff. So, and the one answer that screwed me up on this, because I failed this question, was where did the kids hang out at? And I underlined it now because I'm like, I will never not know this again. Where'd it go? Hold on. They hung out at Kelly's Fruit Company. I know it now.
Kelly's Fruit Company?
I guess it was a.
I don't even remember that, and I've read the book and I've referred to it many times.
Yeah, that was the one question I failed on that test, and I got like a 6 out of 10, which I guess I needed a 7 out of 10 to pass. There's like 10 questions. So anyway, and then I haven't really done much with King after that until when just a couple of years ago I started getting back into him and I started reading like a lot of his. I tried to do it like in publication order. So I read Carrie, Salem's Lot, The Shining, which we will return to this in a couple of minutes. And then, obviously, the big brick itself, The Stand. And there's many other books after this, which I have read some. Because I was trying to do them in publication order, and I kind of,
that's what I did. I'd watched so many of his movies, and then a friend at the time said you should read the books, and I started with Carrie, but I wanted to do like Carrie and then go into like I wanted to look at everything that he had done. So that's when I went on to the web and like, okay, well, what short stories did he write after Carrie? And then I tried
so you were trying to do it in like, so you were trying to do like short story.
Yeah, like novel, short story, then it could be a novella. Because, they were all connected in some sort of way.
Yeah. It's all connected to the Dark Tower.
Yeah. And so I wanted to, I wanted to do that. And I think one of his best books, where he talks about a lot of this, is on writing. I think is what his memoir that I think is one of the best books I've read on it. And I don't even recommend the book. I recommend the audiobook, which is read by Stephen King. And I read it from, or I listened to it in the car from Vegas to LA because I was going to go see a concert. And it was like having King right next to me. I mean, it was great hearing him say this. And I found the theater where the concert was, and I didn't stop. I just kept driving because I had like 2 hours until the show started. And I just wanted to finish it because I only had like an hour or so left. And I just kept going around and around until it was done. And it's one of the best audiobooks I've ever heard, along with Steve Martin's autobiography called Born Standing Up. He also read that. And it's great. And that was another trip. And then I read, then I listened to that, and it was like having Steve Martin right next to me. So yeah, that's great. So what movie is that was your first one?
Okay.
You've got to be in suspense.
Before I ever read Carrie, I was hanging out with a friend of mine, and his mom was a big horror fan. She was like she was like, horror was like in her blood at this point. And so she told me, she's like, hey, you should watch this movie. And she handed me a VHS tape of Riding the Bullet. So this was my very first introduction to Stephen King, was Riding the Bullet. Obviously not this copy here. I have, it was the VHS copy, but this was my introduction, and this is why this is on my best, because it has such a personal story behind it.
Okay. Now I have not read the book to that. Have you read the book to it?
I listened to the audiobook.
Okay. Well,
and it's very close. Like it's been a long time since I've read this, read, whatever you want to call it. I do consider audiobooks the same as reading, because you're basically just consuming it in another way through your ears instead of your eyes. But from what I remember, it is pretty accurate. And now there's probably some changes, but it wasn't much.
Yeah, and that's Mick Garris, who was the Stephen King guy at the time. And he is on Facebook, and he's quite approachable. And he does have a cameo in this. There's a I don't know what you would call them that our lead character has. He has like these flashes of things that are coming in the future, and it's at one point he's at the hospital because his mom had the stroke, and the doctor pops around the corner, and it's Mick Garris, and then that goes away.
Was it the first one or the second one?
The first one.
Two of them. Okay.
Yeah, the second Doctor is not Mick Garris, but Mick Garris he also did The Stand, and then in the remake of The Stand, he does have a cameo in it. I took a picture of it with my phone because he's at a party, and you can clearly see that it's him if you know what he looks like. And I put it up on Facebook, and I'm like, hey, look who I saw in The Stand, and he shared it, and I'm just like, yay, Mick Garris shared my post, because he was the guy for a while. To do, it was like him and Tom McLaughlin or something. It was and George Romero. There were like 3 directors during the 90s that were all Stephen King guys. I mean, that includes really even like Rob Reiner, I guess, who's Stand By Me, Misery. I mean, he even named his production company Castle Rock because he's a huge Stephen King fan. But I really enjoyed this. I bought it a long time ago. I thought I'd see I was getting this confused with Quicksilver Highway. I thought this was an anthology. Like there's the Hitchhiker, and then they would get and then different stories would come up, and I was totally wrong. Absolutely totally wrong. I didn't know that this was I didn't even know this was based on like a book. I thought maybe short story, but it's a novel. I do like that we get the little cameo by Christine, which is funny. So, but it's not exactly Christine. It's Christine, but not It's like alternate universe Christine, because it's not the. It's still a Plymouth Fury, but it's not exactly Christine.
Yeah, kind of like a alternate dimension kind of deal.
Yeah, and according to Stephen King here, it does say the best of the independent films made from my works that stand by me, Stephen King.
Yeah.
And this is the full length theatrical version, because I think this was made for Sci-Fi Channel originally. There is good doc. Did you watch the behind the scenes?
I did not. No, I didn't get a chance to.
They're pretty good.
I'm definitely going to, because this is, like I said, this is when it comes to King, this is probably one of my favorite adaptations. And like when you ask if I read the book, yes, like it's very faithful to the book. Now I think there are some subtle differences, but every adaptation is going to have some subtle differences, which it's fine by me, as long as you're being respectful to the source material. I don't care if there's something a little different. Like if it's something like, oh, they obviously couldn't do because budgeting at the time, or special effects weren't up to par like they are today. I'm fine with that. If they had to change something, or take a character out or something, I'm cool with that. As long as they're respectful to the source material. Which Mick Garris is very faithful to the source material.
Oh, he even though the stand is different, like he combined characters and stuff, it's still all there. I mean, it's very close.
Oh yeah, the stand. I read the stand in 22. The last month of 22, and I was very shocked to see like when I was reading it or listening to it, I was alternate between the two. When I read books, I do have the audiobook playing as I'm reading it, so I can concentrate on it more. Which is something that people say I'm weird for doing it, or whatever. Hey, whatever. But that's just how I do things anyway. But I was surprised at how much I was like visual. I was remembering scenes from the miniseries. Now there was a lot of stuff they did cut out. I mean, I think a lot of the stuff with Trash Can Man they cut out a lot of. Not much, but it was like some stuff like they didn't have in. But obviously they couldn't do a lot of the stuff.
Yeah, I mean it's made for television. It was pretty violent for television too, with all the dead bodies and everything. But it's still a lot better than that remake that they did.
I've never seen the remake, and
God, is it awful? It is so awful. It is. Amber.
I want to see it one time just to see how bad it is, but I've heard a lot of people say it is atrocious.
It's non-linear, and I hated that. That really annoyed me because it jumps all over the place. And Amber Turd is in it. Surprisingly, not. I didn't even realize it was her. I'm like, oh my god, she's actually doing a good job. But what's his face, who played the Flash, plays Trash Can Man, and he is fucking awful. God, is he awful?
The TV show Flash, or the
movie The Flash?
The movie
The guy
The
who
Flash,
goes around beating up women.
Oh, that dude. Okay. I'm gonna make an unpopular opinion. Television show Flash is so much better than movie Flash.
Ezra Miller plays Trash Can Man. He is. Yeah, he is just awful.
Oh, what the frick's the dude's name? Gavin something? I can't remember. That plays in the television show Flash. Great. I really enjoyed the Flash.
What little I saw of that, I liked it, but I didn't watch a lot of that. So, but this has, if you have a chance, you should definitely check out the behind the scenes. And
yeah, definitely.
This has I don't really know the main actor in this. I don't think I've seen him in anything, but Erica Christensen is in this. I know her from Swim Fan. David Arquette is in it.
Is that the one that I'm not familiar with her? Is that the one that played his girlfriend?
Yeah.
Okay.
And she was the obsessed.
I've seen her in I've seen her in other things. I just didn't know. I didn't know her name personally, so I was like, ooh, you know what I mean. But she did a great job.
Yeah, and David Arquette is in this one, but then his brother Alexis Arquette, who's now unfortunately he died. I liked him as an actor. He was in Children of the Corn 6. I think it's called like Fields of Terror.
How many of those movies have they done?
Like 10. I would love
Oh
to.
my god!
I would love to make one. Actually, that's my Stephen King dream project, is to make a Children of the Corn movie. Um, and then
But
we
I've
also
heard
have.
it's so hard to do stuff with King. I mean, you gotta make sure he approves it and everything like that.
Oh well, we'll get more into that a little bit later. So,
Okay.
and then there's Cliff Robertson, who's in this, who of course was Uncle Ben in Sam
Yeah.
Raimi's Spider-Man, and Barbara
Yeah.
Hershey plays the mom. You also have Nikki Cat. So it's
Yeah.
got a really good cast, and it's some of the stuff in the making of that Mick Garris says he changed is uh, he made the movie take place in 1969 when it was present day in the book.
Yeah.
The Christine car, it was actually like a black Mustang, but he wanted to do the tribute because Mick
Yeah.
Garris does that. Like if you watch Sleepwalkers, there's cameos by like Toby Hooper and Clive Barker and Stephen King and which is funny is because there is the scary, haunting, and surprisingly emotional Toby Hooper, director of the Texas Chainsaw Massacre, and he
Yeah.
directed The Mangler.
Yeah.
Most people, which is Stephen King, and most people, of course, know him also from Poltergeist.
One thing I'm
And
surprised about with this movie is that King didn't have a cameo in this one. Because a lot of times he does have a little cameo. Did he?
the Matt Fuhrer role, who was Trash Can Man in, for people who don't know, Trash Can Man in The Stand.
Mhm.
Uh and we'd already talked about like his other roles. He is in this. He's the art teacher. So when at the very beginning of the movie, where our lead character and his girlfriend are painting the nude woman, which by the
Yeah.
way, excellent director. We're not even 5 minutes into the movie and we're getting a naked woman. So thank you very much, Mick Harris. That's the signs of a good director. Uh, um, the art teacher is Matt Fuhrer. So it was originally going to be Stephen King, but he couldn't do it. He was sick. It was supposed to be George
Okay, got it.
Romero, but he was sick. It was going to be one other guy, I think. They couldn't make it for scheduling problems. And so he just called his friend, Matt Fuhrer, and he came in for the day. Like he just flew out, hopped on a plane, flew out, did the scene, and basically flew back. That's
Nice.
what I love about Stephen King actors. The dude just hops on a
Just,
plane.
just,
Hey,
just call him. Say, hey, I need you to. I'm out of actors. I need you to come out. Sure, I'll be out. I'll be out tomorrow.
yeah,
Zoom right
we
there.
already booked you the flight. It's like hop on the plane. It's Stephen King. All right, no sweat. So yeah, so he's in there. So there's commentary with the director, cast, and crew. There's
Okay.
shooting the bullet, which is like camera work and stuff. Art of the
Okay.
bullet, which is all of
Yeah.
the like the comic book and drawings and stuff.
Mhm.
Because that was done by, oh, I'm blanking on his name, but he did all the art for Cycle of the Werewolf.
Okay.
Ernie Wrightson, I want to say, famous artist, but he did
Not
all the,
sure.
see, once again, a Stephen King person returning, because he did all the
Yeah.
stuff for the book, and now he's coming back to do all the art for this.
Yeah.
Then there's storyboard to film comparisons, which is kind of cool, and there's a
Mhm.
trailer for it. So this thing is loaded with
Yeah.
stuff in it. I mean, even Frank
Back
Darabont
when
does the.
back when movies actually gave you special features and stuff to actually, quench your film behind the scenes thirst. Not like today.
No, and I
People.
thought that these were just going to be like studio behind the scenes type of stuff. No, this was they hired a company to come out. Looks like it's maybe
Mhm.
like a husband and wife or something, and they shot all the behind the scenes stuff because some of it's not perfect. So it's probably like a
I mean, it
local
is an independent
family.
film, so I mean, we can forgive that.
Yeah,
No.
it took Mick Garris years to get this done, and this is why I find funny because Bill Paxton did the same thing with with his film that oh fuck the one with where Bill Paxton directed it, and he's the dad, and he goes around killing everybody that he thinks is a serial killer. And Matthew McConaughey's the son. Fertility. But fuck. I'm telling you, man, getting old sucks.
Hey, I get brain farts all the time.
Oh,
so I can.
Frailty. It's called Frailty. Great movie. But if you look at all the reviews on like the trailer and the movies, they're all his friends. So it's like James Cameron, and it looks like Mick Garris did the same thing here. I mean, you got Stephen King giving a review, you got Toby Hooper, you got Frank Darabont who gives a review, of course, who's a massive Stephen King fan. He was another big 90s director, Shawshank Redemption, The Green Mile. And his review is Writing the Bullet Delivers the Shocks. And it says writer, director, The Green Mile, and Shawshank Redemption. And of course, he worked on like the first season or two of The Walking Dead. Mm-hmm. So, K&B did the special effects for this.
Yeah.
Nicholas Pike who's a great music guy. This has got like everything. So I'm glad that you recommended this.
I will say some of the like the background music was really good. It was like when I was watching the movie, like I just watched this yesterday. I wanted to rewatch it because it's been so long since I've seen this movie, and I was like, well, I wanted to make sure. Do I still feel the same? Like, because I watched it. I picked this basically from memory. But I was like, yes, this is so good. Such a great movie.
It is really good. And now I can recommend it to people because it's I mean, the story will make it very brief. It takes place in 1969, which is the second movie that I watched with Stephen King that takes place in 1969, which was weird that that's the date that people pick. But
69, man.
Woohoo! 69, dude. Our main character's kind of a hippie type of guy, anti-war, and
he's obsessed with death.
Yeah, and he draws
like the macabre.
Like the old, Tales from the Crypt and all that type of stuff is what he would be into. And he has the girlfriend, and she breaks up with him, and he's a softie. He's a cookie. He breaks very easily. He's a snowflake. And he goes home and tries to commit suicide. Wait
a minute. The Grim Reaper told him to.
Yes, who may or may not be the person who's driving this car.
Maybe
is what Mick Garris says. And the Grim Reaper is there, and who was designed by Bernie.
Cut.
And that the Grim Reaper was even designed by, I'm saying his name wrong, but Bernie writes it, however you say his name. He designed him too. So he was a kind of a big part in this movie as far as design goes. And the girlfriend bursts in with a whole bunch of people yelling happy birthday. And she was basically just trolling him to set him up for the surprise party. And he thinks he broke up with her. So he ends up in the hospital with a slit wrist. And now he is kind of, or now she's kind of like, dude, what are you doing? And
that was a stupid thing to do. Like suicide, telling him like suicide is kind of selfish. Don't do that.
Yeah. And she gets him tickets to go see John Lennon and the Plastic Yoko Ono Band, which is hilarious to me, because then his two friends that are also stoners go, don't you think the Beatles will show up? I think the Beatles will be there. And then there's the thing that I find funny, and this is why I like Mick Garris as a writer, is one of the friends goes, well, John Lennon, Jimi Hendrix, Janis Joplin, what if when they're 80 years old, they're all
fat and bald?
Fat, bald and old, and of course all of them died at like 24. Lenin died at like 30, I think, but for the most part all of those people died at 24. So he's talking about these people living till they're like 80.
That was 29.
29, whatever it is.
One of those things.
It doesn't matter. They all died around the same time. And
this is kind of crazy if you think about it.
Whatever that famous number is, 24 or 27.
Something like that.
Yeah, it's whatever they
Kurt Cobain, Jimi Hendrix, Janis Joplin.
Yeah, they were all that.
Amy Winehouse or whatever her name is.
Yeah.
Yeah, it was like a big conspiracy theorist thing. Like oh, they were picked off at a certain time, and it's like, they all made poor decisions. Let's just be real.
Pretty much. Yeah, pretty much.
I mean,
yeah. And then
my conspiracy theorist there, and then we'll go back there. Kurt Cobain didn't commit suicide.
Well, there is the rumor of the island. That all these people are on an island. Their assassinations were fake, and the government put them on an island because they're all threats. So they just put them all on the
Never
island.
heard that one. That's a new one.
Yeah. And then one day we'll have the huge, well, probably a lot of them would be dead by now if they are on the island. But any time, but like Tupac would be there. Tupac is on the island. So,
okay.
But his mom has a stroke. So he gives the tickets to his two friends, and then he hitchhikes.
Which is kind of a jerk move if you think about it. I mean, why didn't he just go with his girlfriend? I could just give him to his girlfriend. You know what I mean? Like, I don't know. But anyway, that's.
The girlfriend got him the tickets for his birthday, and it was supposed to be her and him.
Yeah. And then he comes home and he kind of is like, well, who wants to go with them? And then he kind of just invites his friends to go instead of her.
Well, because she dumped him.
Did she dump him though? I thought.
Yeah, I think
he was asked. Because he was asking her, "Are you being for real here? Do you really want to get rid of me?" And she goes, "No, I love you. I really do." And she didn't actually say she didn't want it. She want anything.
I thought she left him. I thought that she, maybe not like a permanent thing, but he had the tickets, and that's why he asked the friend, like one of the friends, and then the other one, they would just buy the ticket when they got there.
Yeah. That's when he got the call.
Yeah, I'd have to go back and rewatch it, but it doesn't make sense for her to. Why would she buy him 2 tickets and then they not go together unless she left
exactly. And then I thought maybe he's just like, being kind of like, getting back at her or something, saying like, you know what, I'm going to go with my friends and say screw you. You know what I mean?
See, that's why I think that she left.
I could be wrong. I'm not.
Could be wrong.
That's not how I interpreted it. But you never know.
Okay. I mean,
but anyway,
I think that she thought that his attempted suicide was too much. It was just like, dude, but so he gives the 2 tickets to his friends, who we then find out later never made it. So it looks like they died, that they had some sort of car accident, but he hitchhikes, which I thought was weird. I mean, I get why he hitchhikes, but why not take a bus? I mean, technically, he could scalp the tickets and buy money for a bus. But
well, he already gave them to his friends, so he can't scalp them now.
Well, before he gives them to his friends, he could be like, "Oh, look, I have these 2 tickets, but you guys want to buy them from me, or I'm going to go scalp them because I need bus money to go visit my mom." But he hitchhikes, and he gets picked up by like a Cliff Robertson, an old dude who may or may not be creepy, and
grabbing his crotch every 5 minutes.
Yeah, there's obviously something going on with the old man's crotch. And I was almost thinking for a moment that maybe that was our lead character's future, like that was him. So it's such like a really weird highway, and then he talks about like his dead wife, which would be the girlfriend, and he's seeing the image of the dead wife in the truck with the old man, and then because he wants to get out because it's kind of creepy. And then he's walking down the road, and then that's when Christine picks him up, when the Christine rolls by, right?
Well, he goes to the. That is that
No,
he
there's
gets
the
picked up
hippie
by the
guy.
old man.
There's the hippie guy. No, the hippie guy is the
And
first
the
one.
hippie guy picks him up first. He crashes because he was like either too high, and then he finds out
Yeah,
he was
crashes
actually a
into a tree.
Vietnam guy. And he's like, "I was called a baby killer, man," and it's like,
Yeah, yeah.
freaking
We think
out.
that he's a hippie against the war, and then our lead actor or lead character looks down and sees that there's a uniform there, like an army uniform,
Mm-hmm.
and we find out that
Then he
yeah, then
goes.
he crashes into a tree.
Then he goes, and then he keeps walking down the road a little bit more, and then he gets picked up by the old guy, which then he takes him to like another town. And says, "You know what? The heck with my brother. He was supposed to take his brother to see his wife or something." And he's like, "You know what? The heck with my brother. I'll just take you down to Lewistown myself." And he's like, "No, no, I'm good. I'm good." And he grabs his arm. He's like, "Come on, dude." He's like, "Dude, okay, chill. I'll catch you right. You take care of your brother." And then he may or may not have died in the car. It kind of seemed like
Yeah,
he
because we
died or
see,
something.
yeah, his wife pops up, his dead wife pops up, and
And he's
I still don't
and he
understand
sees
where these premonitions or something come from. Like why our lead? I keep calling him lead actor. What is his name? Um, Alan.
Alan. Yeah.
Yeah. So I don't understand why Alan has these flashes or
I
images
mean, it wouldn't be a Stephen King novel if we didn't have some superstition kind of deal going on, you know.
yeah, yeah. And then
Yeah,
we should probably wrap this movie up quickly. But he hitchhikes. He gets picked up by David Arquette. He's in the Christine car,
yeah,
and and we find out that he died earlier. That he
yeah,
was decapitated because he was trying to pass a car, and he got
yeah,
decapitated. And Alan sees a grave with his name on it because he
yeah,
wanders into like a graveyard. And for the most part, a lot of the movie is the David Arquette character who's slowly decaying, trying to find him, and then he makes
yeah,
him like so. Basically, David Arquette is death, and
yeah,
he's saying that telling Alan you have to choose between yourself and your mom to die, which is really fucked up. That he says
yeah,
take my mom. Like okay,
yeah,
I can see myself saying that, but I don't know. Your mom didn't seem that bad, and
yeah.
so it's not a without giving the whole thing away. Because we do have three
It's a
other movies.
it's kind of like a psychological mind screw. You know what I mean?
People
He's
have compared it
basically
to
like,
Stand By Me, is what I read. Is that it's like it's a drama. It's not a horror movie. It's
no,
a drama with like horror.
it has horror elements to it,
Yeah,
but it's kind of like you know, like this their main character, his mom's is in the hospital. She had a stroke. And then even from like our standpoint, if our mom and dad had something like that, what's your mind do? Your mind automatically goes to the worst case scenario. You know what I mean? Like what's going to happen? And it's pretty much your mind screwing with you, and that's what I interpreted him when he kept seeing like his double next to him. Is his mind just
yeah. He has
basically
this weird double that pops up all the time. Like
and
I
it's
think David
basically
Arquette
his
even points out, is that like your devil or your angel?
yeah. But
Yeah,
that's what I interpret it as. Is like, okay, you know, that's what I loved about King. He takes real life, things and kind of like plays with it. You know what I mean? And that's what I interpret it as like, okay, what do you do when your mom's in the hospital or grandpa, dad, wife, whoever? Your mind is going to go to the worst case scenario, and you're gonna think they're dead or they're worse or something happened. It's like life threatening circumstance. You know what I'm saying?
well, yeah, and to let people know, riding the bullet is
A roller coaster.
the roller coaster, and he doesn't,
Yeah.
and he wants to ride the roller coaster, then he chickens out, and his mom hits him on the head and yells at him and kind of embarrasses him in front of everybody. That's really the only bad thing that we really see with the mom, you know, treating him, and I guess that's kind of stuck with him forever. But the roller coaster does play a part in this, and so a lot of it
There's
does
actually a
take
second.
place at,
There's a second meaning to it, which could mean like what happens to his dad, which we won't spoil, but has something to do with the boy.
oh yes, because because Alan thinks what happened to his dad is totally different than what did happen. He was lied to.
What his mom told him. His mom tells him that he died in a car accident, but he really did something else.
Yeah. And I like that a lot of it, especially the ending, took place at like at a carnival. I like that. So that was pretty cool.
Yeah.
So it's a good movie. It's a good film with you know, kind of all over with explaining it here, but it's definitely worth watching. So there's a lot of
worth
layers
watching,
to it.
Sean.
Yeah, it's not typical of King.
It's on
So
Amazon Prime if you guys want to watch. If you guys want to watch, it's on Amazon Prime. So that's how I actually watched it, because I didn't know if my disc, if I could, losing my headphone, my earphone, earbud. Oh my god, I can't speak tonight. I didn't know if my DVD, if I could play my DVD in my PS5, so I just watched it on Amazon Prime.
Oh, okay. So there you go. A couple ways of watching it. So mine is, and I have it as part of a collection, my favorite Stephen King movie. My miniseries would be The Stand, but my movie is The Dead Zone, and it's part of this. So
out of curiosity, what other movies are included in that?
So you get The Dead Zone, the special collector's edition, the original Pet Cemetery special collector's edition, Silver Bullet, and Graveyard Shift. Okay. And what's nice is they're all on their own disc, so the quality is still pretty good.
Nice. That's good.
Yeah, and the Dead Zone, the special features on it are actually pretty good. They're maybe 7-minute behind the scenes, and they talk about writing the movie, making the movie, music of the movie, the effects of the movie, the actors. Here, messages from the Dead Zone, the look of the Dead Zone, visions and horror from the Dead Zone, the politics of the Dead Zone. So they do talk about politics in this, because obviously it's you know, Greg Stillson.
Real quick question before we get into the movie: have you seen the TV show?
I own it. It's right down here, but I've only seen the first episode.
Okay, I have the first season. I don't have the entire season, but I don't have.
Yeah, this is in a box that's like that thick, and it's got everything.
Oh, okay.
I because I'm such a huge fan of the movie, I couldn't get into that first episode of the TV show that much, even though it does follow the book a little bit closer. Like David Cronenberg, who directed this film, it's one of his best movies. And he did it right after Scanners. So, but he does talk about that they did shoot the scene where Johnny, Christopher Walken's character, does fall into the to the ice, and that kind of starts everything in motion. That he's actually out on like a pond, and that and he hits his head, and that messes him up, and they cut all that. So, but it's in the TV show. Cronenberg just wanted to stick with Christopher Walken. They didn't want to have like a kid, like a totally different actor playing him. Deborah Hill is the producer of this. Sadly, she's passed away. Jeffrey Bowman. Yeah, Bowman is who also wrote like Indiana Jones and the Last Crusade. Sadly, he's passed away. Michael Kamen did the music for this. He's passed away. Cronenberg has pointed out that a lot of people have passed away since making this film. And Martin Sheen is completely and totally evil in this movie, which is why Trump has compared
The Trump.
him, or which is why, yeah, King has compared Greg Stilson to Trump. There we go. And I absolutely love this film. I can watch it. I've never been bored of it. I think this is my fourth time watching it, maybe more.
Yeah.
And I still don't
This is
get
actually my
bored.
first time watching it, and I really enjoyed it.
Beautifully shot, great soundtrack. It's the only soundtrack not to be done by Howard Shore. Otherwise, because they had a
The
scheduling conflict.
opening was very creative. I liked how they were shown every time the scenes changed, it would like take a little piece out of the screen, and it would
Oh, for the
eventually reveal the title. I thought
oh
that
yeah,
was
yeah,
very
yeah, for the
creative.
credits. It's interesting is
Yeah.
it has titles twice. It says the beginning of the film, The Dead Zone, and then it goes into the actual, yeah, what you're talking about. So it's in there twice, which is kind of strange. And this is very different for David Cronenberg because there's only really one scene of body horror, and that's when the deputy puts the scissors up him,
Yeah.
which in the book it's just a slit. He cuts his own throat.
Oh,
Um,
okay. I haven't read the book, so I don't know the book that well.
Yeah, there are things added in here that Cronenberg did that it just adds to the story, like
Yeah.
how Johnny is basically dying every time he has one of these visions. He's dying a little bit, and then all the scenes with him being in the scene. So when he has these flashes, that he like when Christopher Walken Johnny is in bed and he's on fire. That's David Cronenberg. He added that. Or
Oh,
when Johnny is at the gazebo and he could see what's going on, and we see all three of the people there, the deputy, the girl, and Johnny. That was
mhm.
Cronenberg. So
Yeah.
he mentions in the behind the scenes that when Johnny is talking to the doctor, who is Herbert Lom, oh my God, talk about a great veteran actor. First of all, he plays Clouseau's nemesis in all the Pink Panther movies, but he's also in a bunch of Hammer films from like the 60s. He played the Phantom of the Opera for Hammer, and he is such a great actor.
Yeah,
Um,
yeah.
and I mean, everybody in this is so good. I mean, you also have, yeah, Anthony's Zebra. I'm not entirely sure how you say his last name, but he was in like the Omega Man. You have Tom Skerritt, Alien. I mean, this is such a great cast in this, and Christopher Walken, I think, is perfect. Brooke Adams, who's like
I
the
like I like how when you first see him, and I from what I hear, he plays the character very well. He's very awkward at first, like he's kind of, when he's teaching the class, he's kind of awkward at first. He's like, like being like being Christopher Walken at that point, and it's like it's perfect. I enjoyed that a lot.
yeah, like he's trying to get along with the kids, so he's just like, hey, I want you to read, the Legend of
Read
Sleepy
The Legend of
Hollow.
Sleepy Hollow. It's about a demon.
Yeah, that like chases down a teacher, so he's trying to get along with the students, really get them into, reading and everything. And then once he comes out of that coma, he's just a different person.
He's like
And
basically like a chill person at that point.
well, but he gets very mad. He's when Tom Skerritt comes up and says, "You have a gift," he's like, "Gift? Oh, God gave me a gift."
Yeah,
And then because his family is very religious.
yeah.
His mom is very religious, and so from him to probably be brought up in this family that is religious, to then blaming God for his, you know for what happened.
Mhm.
And then when he tells the rich dad that his son is going to die, and he's like, the ice is going to break, and just so he's very, yeah, kind of mellow until he's
Pushed
not.
over the edge.
Yeah.
Yeah, yeah.
And
He. I'm telling you, I mean, it's Christopher Walken, man. Christopher Walken's great in almost
his
everything he's
his
done.
line delivery in this is great. His everything in this with him is perfect. And the whole thing of what I love with Martin Sheen, you know, plays Greg Stilson, is he was also in Firestarter, two Stephen King films, and he was like the head of the shop in Firestarter, but he's also in The West Wing. So I always felt, what if this is the same character from The West Wing, but like he didn't kill himself and he does become president, you know? And so now, you know, this is a little bit of an origin story.
The West Wing is the alternate reality of the Dead Zone.
Yeah. And that, so here's a funny thing. When I was in high school, I took a creative writing class. Loved the teacher. But my grammar was awful. So he graded me on two things. So most of the students in there got B, A, C, whatever. Mine was like AF, like A/F, because he would rate me or grade me on the story I wrote and then my punctuation, which made no fucking sense. And so it was awful. But I took that story of Greg Stilson destroying the world and wrote it.
Okay.
It didn't change anything. And I got an A. Got an F on the you know, the grammar, but and then we had to read our stories. And people were like, they were just like, why is everything you write doom and gloom? And I was waiting for somebody to say, dude, that's from the Dead Zone. Because the movie had been out, the book had been out, but nobody caught me. I completely plagiarized Stephen King for 7th grade creative writing.
I mean, it wouldn't be the first time you've done it in school.
No, probably not. Probably not. But this was so to the point where I even wrote in there, you know, in quotes, you know, put your hand on the scanner or I'll cut it off and do it for you. I think I left out the swearing, but it was just, you know, I absolutely love this film. I love that he's a complete nut job and that he destroys the world and you know, and Christopher. And so you kind of now have to think about things, you know, like if the attempted assassination of Trump, or maybe the attempted assassination of Reagan, or the attempted, you know, what, or really any president. I mean, even Obama had, you know, somebody attempted with him. It's not well known, but they tried. Maybe these people know something that we don't. You know, maybe Trump should have been shot. Maybe Reagan, you know, should have been killed. Maybe, you know, who knows? But maybe that attempted assassination changed history just enough to where something bad was going to happen now didn't, because somebody knew something. And I don't mean like a conspiracy thing, like, oh my God, I just read this in a file, but like they read a Trump rally or an Obama rally and they shook his hand and they had the premonitions of what's going to be happening.
Yeah.
And that's why they did it. So it's like, who knows? I mean, of why people do things, you know, maybe. And I'm not saying that that's a good thing or people should do it. So don't, you know, people don't take me wrong, but you know, I
tell people all the time, rather you love somebody, rather you hate somebody, no one deserves to die. And especially when the people were saying that, they should have killed Trump. They should have killed. I'm like, dude, don't go there. Nobody deserves to die, no matter how bad you think they are. I mean, except for maybe Hitler. Maybe Hitler. That's the only one I can
bring that up. Yeah, because that's brought up in this movie. Is he talks to his doctor Herbert Lom, who's Jewish. If you could go back and if you know now what you knew then, if you know now, what you knew then, could you go back and kill Hitler? And he's like, yeah, I'd fucking take him out. He's like, of course I would. And that's what gives him the okay to go
ahead and try to assassinate the senator at the time.
Yeah.
But here's my thinking of it. Okay, if we had the chance to go back in time and successfully assassinate Adolf Hitler? What if someone even worse comes along, and now we are now owned by a complete other dictator at that point? Like, what if, World War II ended, like, we prevented World War II, but when the alternate World War II happens, and we have a even worse than Hitler, I don't know how much worse you can get, but what if we got someone worse, and then we lost World War II, and now we are under Germany or whoever's control?
I don't know, that would have to be a chance, because you would have to, you would wipe out Hitler as a baby.
Okay.
That's when you would have to take him out. And so his mom's pregnant, maybe you accidentally push her down the stairs, oh my god, I'm so, boom boom boom, and then she has the miscarriage. But you also have to think of things like countries wouldn't have come together if we didn't have this war. But World War I would have already, still would have happened, because we're just dealing with Hitler. So it's hard to say. This is kind of a weird example, but Doctor Who, there's a Tom Baker episode called Genesis of the Daleks, and he has the opportunity to kill Davros, who is their version of Hitler, who created the Daleks. And all he has to do is take 2 wires and put them together, and that's it. No Daleks. And he holds them apart, and he goes, if I do this, planets will not come together. Planets will not have treaties to fight the Daleks. And he gives this list of reasons why he should not kill Davros. And he doesn't. He just drops the wires because of all of these circumstances that brought all these people together. So what you're saying could be true. I mean, it's maybe there's something worse. I mean,
you said, we wouldn't have the allies we have today if Hitler never existed. I mean, as bad as Hitler is, and I'm not saying that Hitler was a good thing, because he's not. Okay, he is a horrible human being. He deserved what he got. I mean, he committed suicide, right? Or did he?
Yeah. He committed suicide in a way twice. He did a cyanide pill and a bullet to the head.
Okay, so because I was gonna say, I think I wasn't sure if I was thinking that wrong or someone actually killed him.
Dog.
Oh God.
Yeah, he gave the
so, but I mean, Hitler got what he deserved, and I'll stand by that. But if we alternate history, it's like, things could be better, or they could be 10 times worse. So that's why I look at it. It's like, if I had the choice, would you go back and kill baby Hitler? I don't know. I don't know.
I would still do it. I would still do it. I'd take that chance.
Okay.
I'd do it.
I mean, you would. Me, I'd be like, what negative consequences is that going to enact? Like, if you change history, like, what if we come back and then all of a sudden, I don't know, France is the new Germany, and World War II happened, and now we're under France's control, and France has a dictator that, I don't know. I'm just using that example. That's 10 times worse than Hitler.
But I mean, remember, Hitler wasn't Germany wasn't the only country that we were at war with. There was also Italy and Japan. So just because Hitler's killed doesn't mean that they're not going to stop.
Italy or Japan could have had another dictator that was 10 times worse. You never know.
So
or better. We don't know.
Yeah.
I mean, I'm not going to say doom and gloom there, because you never know.
Yeah. So you don't know. I think you just have to take that type of chance. But there's also like Star Trek 4, when they were going to be making Star Trek 4, ideas that they were being thrown around were they go back and they save Kennedy for being assassinated. And one of the reasons why they didn't do it is because in fact, this could have been in the script, is certain people have to die.
Yeah. And
they figured that Kennedy had to die, that Kirk and Spock and all them could not go back and save him. That's like that is part of history that could not be changed.
Yeah.
And certain things can be changed, but Kennedy's assassination could not be changed. So who knows? Maybe Hitler being killed as a baby would not, like you said, maybe Hitler being killed as a baby, his mom would get pregnant again and even
And
have
just
a
have another
worse
Adolf
person.
Hitler.
Yeah, a worse one. You know, so maybe that person and you know would win the war. So, you know, it's hard to say. So
I mean,
yeah.
it's a possibility. You never know. I mean, that's why I say it's like I'm a little iffy on that. Like whenever that question gets thrown around, would you go back and kill baby Hitler?
But would you, if you
I
could
don't
go
know.
back and
Like
kill, what about Greg Stilson? If you could go back and kill Greg Stilson, knowing that he does literally push the button to end the world.
Well, again, I don't know. I don't know if
I
I
would say
would.
yes to that too, because he's only one
If
guy.
I knew that much information, like that would determine, like, changing that, the world to be saved, then yeah. But, but again, we know that information. So with him, having the psychic ability to, see into the future by touching somebody, he was able to stop, even though he didn't actually kill Greg Stilson, he ruined his political campaign because he picked up the baby and held it in front of him. Spoiler alert!
Yeah,
Sorry, everybody.
which I think is better than him assassinating him. I
Yeah.
think that humiliation, and in the book, it's just a random baby, but in the script, they changed it to being, you know, the
His girl,
Johnny's
his
ex-girlfriend's
his ex-girlfriend
gets
child.
girlfriend's baby, which is much better. And the guy who takes the photo, that's an Estevez. That's the only Estevez or Sheen. It is an Estevez, but it's one of Martin Sheen's kids that's not into film. He just happened to be on set. He came down to visit his dad, and David Cronenberg said, "Can you play the guy who takes the photo that destroys Greg Stilson?" And he's like, "Sure." So that's an Estevez in
Okay, I didn't.
the
That's
movie,
cool.
and then of course Emilio Estevez is in Maximum Overdrive.
Okay.
So now you have a Sheen and two Estevezes in Stephen King movies. So there you go.
Man,
And
that's awesome.
I mean, all that stuff with Johnny touching Greg Stilson's hand is just brilliant. All that stuff, like him, it's over. You're done. And then even Greg Stilson's like henchman is like, "Fuck you, dude."
Even turns around. He turns around and is like, "Dude, screw you, man. I did
Yeah,
everything for you, and you screwed up your own campaign by
the baby is
grabbing a baby. You should have just grabbed like somebody else or something, or at least hid behind the podium or something. Not
yeah.
not
So
grab a baby to shield yourself from an assassination."
well, something I find interesting, and then we'll move on to your next pick is if you watch the movie, everything is from Johnny's point of view, except for a couple scenes, which I thought was interesting. Is his doctor calling his mother to see if she's still alive? Johnny's not there, and then Greg Stilson, the henchman at the newspaper place, where he threatens the newspaper reporter.
Yeah.
And I thought it was very interesting, and I'd like to talk to Cronenberg about that. Of why is the entire movie basically from Johnny's POV, except for like 2, maybe 3 scenes. Like we never see Johnny's dad do anything unless the dad is with him.
Yeah.
We never see like even the rich guy when all the kids fall into the pond and some of them die, but the son doesn't go because he trusts Johnny. Johnny's still on the phone. But there are scenes where Johnny is not involved at all. And it's interesting that they put those in because it's even with him on the phone talking to the kid, where now the dad has kind of become like the kid. Johnny is at least on the other side of the phone and we see him and he hangs up.
Yeah.
So I thought that there was some interesting choices to break away from the script, you know, with Johnny's POV. So
I mean, the scene where he was threatening the news reporter, you know, to not like blackmailing the news reporter into changing his story to not make him so evil. I mean, would make you, you know, I think is the perfect choice to have that, because if you didn't know that little bit of information, would you, you know, you'd be like, well, why is he trying to kill Greg Stilson? You know, why does Greg Stilson have to die? You know, is he that bad of a person? And you kind of see the evil behind him, like he'll do anything to get elected. So
well,
you see that whole.
it's an added thing because remember the rich guy, Anthony Ziba, which I think is how you say his last name. Remember, he and Johnny are watching Stilson on the TV and he's like doing the push-ups and stuff.
Mm-hmm.
And the dad is like, that is a bad guy. He is not a good guy. But if he loses, you don't want to be by him. If he wins, you want to be his friend because that is a bad guy. So Johnny is already kind of starting to
like
get
have
that.
some, and
Like,
he even goes, he goes, who are you voting for? And he goes, I'm not even registered. He goes, well, you need to get yourself registered so you can vote against this turkey.
Yeah. So I think it's such a great movie. I mean, it's just I think if I reworked, I would probably put this in my top 5. I know it's got to be in my top 5 because I think it's my favorite David Cronenberg film. It's probably my favorite Christopher Walken film.
Yeah.
And it's my favorite Stephen King feature film. Not my favorite novel, but it's definitely my favorite movie.
Yeah.
So, you know. All right, so that's that. So we got our 2 faves. So what is your dislike?
Oh man. So I'm gonna get a lot of hate for this, but I want to first say that I don't absolutely hate this movie. I just think that it is. How do I explain this without? I'm gonna get the hate for it anyway, so it doesn't really matter. I read the book before I seen the movie, but I've heard a lot of hype about this movie. Until I watched it. Have you ever? Let me ask. Let me say it like this. Have you ever, seen like we've seen like the famous scenes of a movie, and you heard everyone say how great it is, and then when you finally watch it yourself, you're kind of like, is it as good as everyone made it out to be? In your opinion, it's like, it was okay. So mine is Stanley Kubrick's The Shining.
What? Man, watch yourself when you leave. You might be assassinated by Johnny here.
Man, or what? Who did you say? Some people may not talk to me. Sorry, OGP. Love you, man.
Yeah. Philip was not happy about that, so it's I own it myself. And
Okay, so let me explain something here. I didn't even like the book. I tried to read this I tried to read this 3 different times. Okay, I am not a fan of the book itself. So
all right, now you're okay. Now you've gone too far. Now you've gone too far.
I mean, so
now, no. As people who know me, they know that I prefer Stephen King's The Stand, the miniseries, over Stanley Kubrick's movie because it matches the book. It is like 99% the book. And me being a Stephen King completist, I like things to be as close to the novel as possible. So when people make fun of Jack Torrance using a croquet mallet to kill somebody instead of an axe, the croquet mallet's in the book. And killing somebody with a blunt object is worse than killing them with something that's sharp. Because you can kill them once. with an axe, but you have to bludgeon them like 50 times with like a croquet mallet. So I understand where you're coming from. I do, because I like The Shining, but I don't think it's as great as everybody says it is. But I do use it as a visual for when I'm making my own movies. I am constantly saying, like that scene from The Shining, this is how I want the camera set up.
I will say one thing. The film itself is very beautifully shot.
Yeah.
I will say that. It's just my biggest problem is that when I have a great example of this, and I'm gonna upset some anime people as well, so I apologize. There's a company called Studio Ghibli. Okay, one of the biggest praised movies of the Studio Ghibli is called Princess Mononoke. I've heard a lot of great things about it. Heard, what's that?
Oh, I know of it.
Okay, hold on. Let me see if I can find it real quick. Well, I'm dropping everything.
Yeah, it's a famous film with a famous director, but I've never seen it. I haven't seen any of the films.
Hold on. Where is it? I have it. Here it is. Here it is. It's stuck under there. I can't get it. Anyway, but I've heard, and again, this is like one of those ones where you see like everyone's like, oh, it's one of the greatest Studio Ghibli movies. It is the greatest one ever. Nothing can ever top it. And then when you finally watch it, because the bar is set up here, and when you finally watch it, it's kind of like, was it overhyped? That's me with The Shining. I don't hate the movie, so don't get it twisted. I do have some problems when he changed some of the ending. This is the biggest thing. My problem is I did read the book. I did finish the book, but I wasn't the biggest fan of the book. But
that's why this is now called Stanley Kubrick's The Shining, and the miniseries is called Stephen King's The Shining, because Stanley Kubrick did not.
Even Stephen King hates this movie. Okay, Stephen King himself hates this movie.
The book. Kubrick didn't get the book. He didn't understand it. Just hiring Jack Nicholson alone was a bad choice, because Jack Torrance is not insane at the beginning of the movie. Jack Nicholson is nuts at the beginning of the movie. He's nuts in the middle of the movie, and he's nuts at the end of the movie. Jack Nicholson was a bad choice. He was miscast. So the guy from Wings, who plays in a nice family sitcom, is a much better choice, because he's not nuts throughout the entire movie. And
I've never seen the miniseries, so I can't quote on the miniseries. So I'm gonna have to watch it.
It's very 90s. The CGI is awful. I mean, it's got all like the Tupperware stuff moving around, and it looks awful. But it's still a much better adaptation than this. But which one would I rather watch? Probably this one. It's shorter. God. So that's what I get. It's called karma. Also, I love Scatman Scruthers, who's in this, but it's Melvin Van Peebles plays that same role in the miniseries. And me being a massive Melvin Van Peebles fan, Mario Van Peebles fan, I love that they got him to play this role. Is yours the double disc?
No, mine's the Stanley Kubrick collection version. So it's just the one disc.
Okay.
I do have this on Blu-ray, by the way. So I did buy this on Blu-ray. I think I got this. I got this on like a lot or something. That's the only. I couldn't find my Blu-ray copy of this, unfortunately. So, but I will hold on to this because it is because I am a completist and I do want to own every single one of Stephen King's adaptations, whether he approves of it or not. One thing I will say, and this may have played into my dislike of the book. Stephen King literally tells everyone, when you're reading the book, do not picture Jack Nicholson as the main character.
It's hard not to.
I can't. I just couldn't. So the whole time I'm reading this, I'm like, I'm picturing Jack Nicholson. I can't not picture Jack Nicholson.
But I mean, it's even with Doctor Sleep. You know, when Mike Flanagan adapted that, the it follows the Kubrick movie, while Stephen King's book follows the novel. So at the end of the novel, the Overlook explodes because of the boiler room.
Yeah.
In the book, it's, I mean, sorry, in the movie, it's just
He
like an
just freezes to
abandoned
death outside.
place.
He just
So
froze to death outside.
well, yeah. I mean, he doesn't blow up like in the book. Yeah, in the movie, he freezes. But in Doctor Sleep, when Danny goes back, it's just like a ruined hotel. You know, why nobody tore it down? Who knows? But it's just ruined. So he even had to, he being, you know, Mike Flanagan had to adapt it to the Kubrick version, which King approved of. But The Shining is another one of those where there's pieces missing from the book, and they were put into other magazines and stuff. Like there is a whole gangster story that's at the, it's like a prologue that's missing from the book. I love the book because I love the it's basically King as an alcoholic, and the boiler room is the, you know, is like the boiling point, and you know, and it explodes for his insanity, and which is why I'm not a fan of Nicholson in it, because he's already insane. He doesn't go insane. He is insane. He's already an alcoholic.
Basically, from the book is like him slowly turning into the madness. Basically, it's like, okay, he's a little mad at first, but then it kind of just gradually grows even more. And him being an alcoholic at the beginning, well, you know, getting rid of the being sober for so long, and then he kind of like, you know, falls into, you know, the like wanting to go back to drinking and all that, like as he's at the hotel, and isolation being another thing which, you know, can drive anybody mad.
Right.
So
Yeah. So I
I
mean,
can again, like I said, I don't hate the movie. I just think it was very overhyped. Now, again, like I said, I haven't seen the miniseries. I'd like to watch the miniseries. Maybe at some point in the future, if we ever revisit Stephen King a third time. I don't think we will, but you never know. So maybe we'll like talk about like certain miniseries or something. Maybe then. I don't
Yeah. You could watch the Shining, and I would do like The Stand or something like that. So yeah, I think it's always fun to go back and revisit things. So yeah, I don't hate the movie either, and as a film by itself, it's fine. It's a good movie.
It's
But
very
compared to
beautifully
the
shot.
novel,
I say Kubrick knows how to shoot movies. I'm not dissing on Kubrick himself, because Kubrick is he's very artistic. You know, every shot is special. I mean, they even did a documentary where, you know, all we talked about the documentary a couple months ago.
Yeah, I don't believe in any of that stuff. Yeah, that's just people just reaching. Yeah,
Remember,
well, in one
it's all
shot
an
there's a
allegory
chair,
or something.
and in another shot the chair is missing. Yeah, it's called bad continuity. I don't think
I
there's
mean,
anything.
every movie has, you know, if
Yeah,
we broke apart every single movie, even the greatest movie of all time, we could probably find some flaws in it. We need to just maybe turn our, you know, some of us just need to turn off the movie making side and just enjoy the story.
well, it's because it's
some
Kubrick, and it's The Shining, and it's Stephen King, and are there meanings to it, and so people dig into it, but they're you know, they dig into The Shining, but they're not digging into the Mangler. So you know, and its hidden meanings. So it's, you know, but you know, okay. So mine, I rewatched, and my opinion has changed.
Oh wow! Okay.
To a degree. So my film that I hated, and I bought this as a hate purchase, is Pet Sematary Bloodlines, which is a prequel to the remake of Pet Sematary, not the original Pet Sematary or Pet Sematary 2.
I only have the original Pet Sematary. This is the original. This isn't the remake.
Oh, I actually
And
kind
I
of like the
also
remake.
have Pet Sematary 2.
I
But
kind of like
I
the
do
remake
have the
better.
remake. I do have the I have not seen Pet Sematary 2. I do want to watch it at some point. I did, and I didn't see the remake yet. I do plan to at some point. But I've heard everyone says it's garbage. Don't know. I can't
No,
comment on it because I haven't watched it.
I actually I wish you did watch it. To be honest, it's I think it's actually better than the original. I think the
Oh wow,
changes
really?
that they made, because I've now seen it 3 times. I think the changes
Okay.
that they made are better. I think the ending is better. They
I
go
was
into
trying to find it because I wanted to watch it, but I boxed almost all my movies up and they're at my dad's house right now. And I was even over there and I was looking for these and I could not find them. So I don't know if I have another bin somewhere that buried somewhere that has them that all my Stephen King, because I kept all my Stephen King together. So unfortunately, I wasn't able to watch the Pet Sematary remake. I do want to watch it though, and now that I
when
know
you
this,
watch it.
I did watch this. Yes. Um,
Okay, so I was at Zia Records. This is when I was with Philip, and we were going to that Creep IE Aftermath convention. And at
mhm.
Zia, I was looking through. I never planned on buying this. I kept the sticker on here because it was originally one price, and then they brought it down to another. This has the weird price of $4.49. 49 cents?
Okay.
What a weird price.
Yeah,
So
really.
I bought it. Plus, it has its slip jacket. I am a completist. Has over 50 minutes of behind the scenes special features. It's Blu-ray and it's got the digital code, which I don't care. So it says based on the terrifying and untold chapter from Stephen King's chilling novel Pet Sematary. Um, I You cannot watch this and then watch the remake. That's my biggest problem with this is I watched all the behind the scenes stuff. I
Hmm.
think that they put 110% into making this, but the director and the producer who also produced the remake made it their own movies. They admitted that. They said that they did not follow lore. And that really bothers me that the stuff
Uh,
that and you cannot include the original Pet Sematary or Pet Sematary 2. Those are they're two totally different things.
uh,
And so when I got done watching this the other day, I did pop in Pet Sematary again, the remake.
mhm.
And the things that are in here, like the stuff with Timmy coming back from Vietnam, is not in the movie. It's in a newspaper article. Son of farmer from Vietnam come back to life or something. When Jeb, who's John Lithgow in this, talks about his dog, we don't see the flashback of the dog going to attack the mom. That's not in this. It's a newspaper article.
Okay.
But they also don't. So Jeb is, it's funny that they don't show a picture of Jeb in this on the back, but it's his origin story. And they 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 have his girlfriend who's supposed to be who gets mauled by
The dog.
the dog that in that I guess is supposed to kind of take the place of Jeb's dog. So we see it. But David Duchovny plays the dad, and then we have Timmy, and in the original movie, the house burns down with both of them in it. But in the remake, there's a whole labyrinth of tunnels. There's he helps to try to kill his son. Uh, it's it's got a great cast. I give them credit. It's short too. It's only 87 minutes.
Yeah.
But you can't watch this as a prequel and then go into the remake because it doesn't match. It's like
Okay.
watching Orphan and Orphan First Kill, which is its prequel. They don't match. So I
Okay.
don't know why they kept saying, "Oh, it is a prequel," but I guess you could say it's a prequel to maybe there's movies in between Orphan and Orphan First Kill, because I did watch Orphan First Kill and then I put Orphan on after it. I'm like, this doesn't match. So unless they were planning
Okay.
on making second kill, third kill, fourth kill until they got to the original movie, it doesn't work. And this doesn't work. And I think that's why I hated it so much when I first saw it. Is plus I kept having the original in my head the whole
Yeah.
time. And but I did enjoy it more as a film by itself. So
If you
if this was,
remove the Pet Cemetery story, like if it was just like, okay, what if it is the Indian burial ground, but you just kind of just like divorce it from Stephen King's,
yeah, because I
it
I
it
really,
works.
yeah, because like in the remake you have the house with the family, and then you have Jeb's house, and there's like trees that are in between. So I looked for that because there's a drone shot that goes over Jeb's house in um in the remake, and you see his house that's burning at the very beginning because they're showing you the ending first, and then there's the tree line, and then the regular house. So I looked for bloodlines. I was like, okay, is his house behind these trees? And we never see that other house. We only see Jeb's house. So, like,
Hmm.
okay, I guess because they're both shot in Canada in different locations with different houses,
Yeah.
and it it bothered me that they decided to remove it so much.
Yeah.
But if you watch something like the Children of the Corn movies, except for the second one, which takes place right after the first one, none of them really have anything to do with each other. Gatlin
Yeah.
is there, the kids are there, the corn is there.
Hmm.
Maybe it's in a city, maybe it's not. They do refer to Gatlin and kids and stuff, but it's
Yeah.
you could watch any of those anytime you wanted and
Yeah.
it would be fine. Um, but this is it's not a standalone. And that bugs me. That I just don't like it, but I respect that they put, like, as an example, in both the original movies, when you enter the pet cemetery,
Hmm.
there's just that crooked sign that's misspelt pet cemetery. And the producer goes, well, since this is a prequel, the sign would be up, looks newer, and they put a kind of like a door frame around it, and it's decorated.
Okay.
So over time, it just kind of fell apart, and then the sign went sideways to what we
Yeah.
see in both movies. And I'm like, okay, I like that. That's
Yeah.
attention to detail. I like that. That the pet cemetery itself looks a little newer. It's a little more fresh.
Yeah.
Um, but it's and I like that Henry Thomas is in it because he plays the Jack Nicholson character in Doctor Sleep.
Yeah.
So when Danny goes to the Overlook and he's at the bar, it isn't
Hmm.
the bartender from The Shining. It's Jack Torrance as the bartender, and
Yeah.
he's all made up as Jack. So that's once again two films, and
Yeah.
so I liked that he was in it. It just frustrates me
Yeah.
that it just doesn't. You it's something that I wouldn't be like, hey, let's watch these two back to back because
Yeah.
they don't click. They don't. No,
Maybe
it had.
just say, okay, let's just watch this film as a Pet Cemetery, maybe fan fiction or something like that. I don't know if did you watch the Blu-ray?
Yeah.
I don't know if it's the streaming service or not, but was there a lot of dark places in this movie?
No.
Like it was very dark. You couldn't really see it.
No.
Okay, so that may have been the streaming service's problem then, because a lot of it was like, especially when he's going after the girl. I forget what her name is. Donna, I think.
Oh yeah,
When
yeah, yeah,
Tiffany's
Done,
going
yeah,
after,
the girlfriend. Yeah.
yeah,
Jeb's girlfriend.
no, the sister,
Oh, well,
the Indian girl. Like,
see, and that's the thing, not to cut you off, but that's something else that I kind of liked in this, is that we do get a little bit of the history, not of the pet cemetery, but of the actual Indian area that's up there,
yeah,
that we get that flashback to like the settlers
yeah, I
coming up.
like that. I
And I
did like.
enjoyed that. I didn't mind the Native American stuff being in it with like the
Mhm.
sister and the brother. I kind of liked that, except that is nowhere to be found in the remake.
Yeah.
Like they never mention Miguel. They never mention in the remake all of these things that happened in the past.
Mm-hmm.
We do get that this takes place in the same universe as Cujo, because John Lithgow, you can hear him in the background at the little girl's party right before she's killed. He
Mm-hmm.
goes, "Oh yeah, there was a dog that got rabies and killed a bunch of people," and you can hear him in the background talking about Cujo, which I thought was awesome. I love that. But none of that stuff. The Indian stuff is brought up, yeah, but
Yeah.
none of these people are brought up in the
Because it's
remake.
based on an Indian burial ground, and then I don't know if it. I don't think this is even mentioned that the pet cemetery was created to hold back like an ancient evil or something. Was that ever brought up in the remake of Pet Cemetery? Like
Yeah,
the
and that the not the cemetery itself, but the Indian area of that. Yeah, that the Indians even knew, or Native Americans knew, that it was so evil that they tried to trap it, but they left. They split.
yeah,
So they did
okay,
all the symbols all around to try to stop the spirits from leaving. So this does have backstory, it does have history, it does have all of that. But it's weird is if you're Jeb and you're now this adult and 60-year-old guy, or however old he's supposed to be in the remake, this new family moves in and you're drinking with the dad, I think this stuff would be brought up. Oh yeah, my wife died and she was bitten by this dog, and I had a friend named Miguel, and his sister was taken to the pet cemetery and she came back to life and she wasn't the same person, so we had to kill her, and we had this guy named Timmy and he built all of these underground tunnels like in Vietnam. You would think all of this would be brought up,
yeah.
and it's not. Obviously because the remake was made before the prequel, but it's not
I
brought
think.
up
I
because
mean, I think that's a lot of the prequels' problem. There is that they could have matched it a little bit better with the remake if it's supposed to be a prequel to the remake. But again, like you said, the director and them said they kind of made it their own, so didn't kind of like, nah, screw source material, let's just do our own thing. And
yeah,
that's what I have a problem with adaptation. Technically, this really isn't an adaptation. This is kind of like a what if story. Like what if, like, let's tell the story what happened before the Pet Cemetery remake. So it's kind of like its own thing.
yeah, and it's, but I kind of like it on its own. Maybe in the same way that I like The Shining, Kubrick's The Shining.
Yeah,
You just can't compare it to the book, but it's still a good movie standing on its own. So
yeah.
this, I mean, I guess if somebody wanted to do a double feature, I would just explain in between movies that just they don't match, but they're still fine movies, because the woman who directed it, it's her first film, her like first feature, and I thought she
Hmm.
did a really good job. I
Yeah,
thought
I
it was
mean
well
the
directed,
movie was
and
good. I mean, I didn't hate it. I didn't dislike the movie. I just and again, I think this may have been Amazon Prime's fault, but a lot of the scenes were a little too dark, so you couldn't really see what was going on.
No,
So I don't know if that was an Amazon Prime deal, like they had like maybe a bad transfer of the movie or something.
it's possible because the film is bright and it's well shot.
Yeah.
So
From what I've seen, it was very well done. It was just, like I said, the only complaint I had, and again, like I said, this may not even be the original film. The film itself, it could just be the streaming service version of it.
I think it probably is, yeah, because it's a. I
That's
put
why
this
I
on.
asked you, did it have any problems being dark? And then you said no, and I'm like, oh, maybe it's just maybe it was the Amazon Prime version. So
I think
I'm not going to hold that against the film.
No, I think that the only thing that you should hold against the film is the story. And that's the problem is, and I do get it because like the remake of Salem's Lot is very different from the book, and it's very different from the other adaptations. The Rob Lowe one that was done in the 90s is the closest one with Rutger Hauer. It matches the book pretty damn close. But this new one, I didn't really mind what they changed because it's not a sequel to anything. It's not a prequel to anything. It's not it's a standalone movie, and you have 3 versions of it that you could choose from and and then you also have the book. But this being something that you could, like, I came up with an idea for an actual sequel that I'm not going to say, but I think that it could work if you kind of stuck with, taking some stuff from the novel, taking some stuff from both of these movies, maybe even from the other films, and I think that it could work. But and of course you would have to make some of that stuff your own. You'd have to change a little bit of it, but it's too much. It's deviates too far. So, but that's But I don't disrecommend it. So if somebody wants to watch it, go ahead.
I would just preference saying that if don't go into it expecting it to be faithful to the source material. I mean, it does use some things from the original Stephen King story, but it's kind of its own thing. So it's kind of like how I say with the Super Mario Brothers movie. Don't go into it expecting a Mario movie. Go into it, just watch it. Just watch it as a normal film. And
The
you might
live
actually
action one
enjoy
or the cartoon?
the live action one.
Oh my god! I hope never to watch that again. Oof, God, that's awful.
Hey, it's so bad it's good.
I might have to rewatch it because I saw it when it originally came out in the theater, and it could be something that's so bad I might like it now. Yeah, so I should rewatch it at some point.
I tell people just watch it as a movie. Don't expect real like Super Mario Brothers stuff or anything like that. Just it's kind of its own thing.
Okay. All right. So here we are. We're finally at the very end. We do not know what movie we have picked. We could have hated it. We could have loved it. We have no idea what this is. We did not tell each other at all. So, Donald, what is it?
My secret pick, which I have seen this movie like on TV and a bunch of times, but I've never seen it the whole way through. I've seen the majority of it, but I finally watched it the whole way through for the first time last week. And that is, you just mentioned this movie a couple of times, and that is Stand By Me.
How could you hate Stand By Me?
I don't hate Stand By Me. I love this movie. I didn't even say if I loved or hate it yet. Jeez, trying to get. Hey, I'm already hated for The Shining. Go ahead, don't get me canceled by the Stand By Me fans. No, this movie was fantastic. I really enjoyed this one. I never read The Body, which is what this is based on. Stephen King's short novella called The Body. I think
Yeah.
it's in
It's in different
one of his
seasons.
collection, different seasons. That's what I
Yeah.
thought it was. I wasn't sure. I want to read this. I want to read the book at some point but I've heard it's very faithful to the book. There's probably some differences, obviously, but if you haven't seen Stand By Me, what are you doing? You need to
That's
watch this.
great cast. Rob Reiner directing it. That's where he got Castle
Yeah,
Rock from.
Will
It's
Will Wheaton is a very young pre-Star Trek, I believe.
oh
Very
yeah, yeah.
pre-Star.
This is when they were all likable. I mean, we liked Will Wheaton. We even liked Corey Feldman. You know, we loved, of course, you know, River Phoenix and
Yeah,
Jerry
O'Connell.
Jerry O'Connell, of course, ended up, you know, being very thin and buffed, and married Mystique from X-Men. What's her face?
Not sure.
Um, Christ, why am I blanking on her name? X-Men Mystique. She was married to John Stamos, Rebecca Romaine.
Okay.
So that little fat kid from Stand By Me ended up marrying Rebecca Romaine. Good for him.
Yeah. Hey,
Yeah, more
one for
power
the
to
fat
him.
kids.
And Richard Dreyfuss does the narration in it.
Oh, okay. I didn't know that. I
Yeah,
didn't catch that at first. Okay.
yeah.
I like how they kind of like I a lot of the movie I haven't caught with the beginning of it, and I think like the end a little bit because I think some of it may have been cut for television maybe because I've only caught like most of it on television, but when I've seen it for the whole way through for the first time, it kind of made a little more sense, the ending, how he was writing the story. It was him telling a story from a point of view.
It's basically Richard Dreyfuss is Stephen King because he's a writer and he's
Yeah,
writing the story of that summer, like basically like his last summer as like a boy, and how they go
yeah,
to find this body, and it's the first time really that we get introduced to Kiefer Sutherland. So
yeah.
it's just like, oh fuck, he does look like his dad. You know, that's Don Sutherland's son. I remember that because we played Stand By Me at the cinema in
Mhm.
Marin County, which was the big red brick building that Coppola and Lucas owned. So it had the best projectors, the best sound, everything was the best.
Yeah,
And so I was an usher, and we played that movie for months, and we all owned the soundtrack. You know, just Stand By Me and just all the great songs. Buddy Holly is on there. I mean,
yeah,
it's a and just before Rob Reiner became a whiny little political bitch, you know, he had some great movies out there like This Is Spinal Tap and Princess Bride, and
yeah.
you know, and then he just became really whiny. Uh, um, hey, Jack Nicholson was in A Few Good Men, directed by Rob Reiner. Shining and Stand By Me. There we
There you
go.
go.
A movie starring Tom Cruise. So just got to get Cruise in there. But I love
You and
Stand
your
By Me.
obsession with Tom Cruise.
I love Tom Cruise. All of this. This is all Tom Cruise. This entire shelf is all Tom Cruise. And this is
why,
just the DVDs.
why don't you become a Scientologist then?
It's too expensive. It is.
Wow. Nothing else I was expecting.
Yeah. So, I mean, what are your, what are there any scenes or anything that stand out to you with Stand By Me that you really like?
I mean, I enjoyed the entire thing. I mean, the thing I like about King is, and I've heard a lot of people say this, so I'm kind of just throwing in the echo chamber, is that King can write kids very, very well. You know, especially, we all remember being like this. You know, we were around our friends. You know, we would say like, you know, make up curse words, and then we'd laugh about it. You know, we'd say like stuff we wouldn't even say as adults. We just make stuff up. You know what I'm
Right.
saying? but it's funny. I really enjoyed it from beginning to front. I think this is probably one of Stephen King's best adaptations.
Oh,
I mean,
definitely.
it's one of his best. I mean, I love Riding the Bullet, but I would say this is probably maybe a little bit better. But I didn't want to pick it as my top because I just watched it for well, again I've seen most of it on television, but I never got to see it like from beginning to end until just last week. So I love this movie. It's great. I definitely will be rewatching this time and time again. I want to see. Why do I keep? I need to get wireless headphones. I keep messing up my camera. I definitely want to see if I can get a Blu-ray of this because I definitely want to add this to my Blu-ray collection.
Yeah,
And
it's
then
one I don't even
have
own yet.
this.
Yeah, I need to add it.
Yeah, I found this in believe it or not when Walmart was doing the 374 bin movies,
Oh, okay.
and I
Oh, you know what the
I
chick
seen this.
version of that is? The chick version of that is Now and Then. That's the one where it has like all the main actresses, like Demi Moore, sadly Rosie O'Donnell, and then they have them as kids. So it's like Gabby Hoffman and so sad. Christina Ricci is the kid version of Rosie O'Donnell. Oh my God, I'm so sorry, Christina Ricci. But it's almost like the female version of Stand By Me, because you got the adult and the kid versions, and they do this little adventure thing.
Oh God, is
It's an
this
awful movie.
something? I was gonna say, is this a movie I should avoid or
Yeah, it's
watch?
no. I mean, it's not aimed at us, but I played it at the movie theater that I worked at, so
Okay,
that's how I know it.
okay.
And Jonathan Moody bought it, so I had to bust on him for that. Moody, you're buying a chick flick. Come on. Um, okay, so
Love you, John.
mine is a hate, and
Okay, I was worried about this. I was like, ooh, are we both gonna do a love, or are we both gonna do a hate? You know what I'm saying? I'm kind of glad that worked out this way.
I was actually going to contact you and say that I think I need to change Pet Cemetery Bloodlines to a like. So that would be my end one. But I thought, no, I'll just explain my difference now. So
Okay.
Jenna Malone
I mean,
was in a
that works out because I mean, like I said, my hate isn't really a hate. I just mainly
yeah.
I look at The Shining as like more of like a disappointment more than a hate. So
Yeah, I guess this is more of it. Now it's more of a disappointment. When I first saw it, I hated it. And I thought, there's
yeah,
no way I'm buying this fucking thing. And then when I saw it, it had the slip cover and it was under 449. I'm never taking that off. I mean, it's got all the behind the
449.
scenes. I'm like, I'll buy it. I bought the
You're complaining.
remake of Firestarter, which is freaking awful. And that would have
I've
been my
heard.
final pick tonight. If this movie did not exist, Firestarter would have been my most hated Stephen King movie.
Okay.
But let me start it with, so Jenna Malone was in a movie called Corn with a K. And it's all about cows and grain and cows going mad. And the cover of it even had like a cow with its eye, and you hit a little button on the box and its eye glows red. And it had like all of the that kind of like warning symbols all around it. And I'm like, oh fuck, Jenna Malone is cute. I thought, okay, cool, like a killer insane cow movie. Fuck no. Had nothing to do with any of that shit. Nothing. It was all about uh uh like cows and corn and what they eat and how it's processed and how like mad cow disease. It was more like a freaking documentary or a drama than a horror movie. I was like, what the fuck is
Okay.
this?
Okay.
That is this movie.
Oh wow, is that the new one?
This is the brand new one that was
Okay.
unreleased for 2 years. I don't know if it had anything to do with COVID, but it was unreleased for 2 years. This is this is the worst Children of the Corn movie.
Okay.
I hate this film.
Yeah, you own a copy of it.
Because I own every Children of the Corn movie. I gave it 2 chances. I saw it on my legal, not legal website. And then the day it came out, I purchased it. I think probably at Target or something. If you notice, it does not say Stephen King on it. It doesn't even say inspired by Stephen King, because at this point, he owned the rights. He bought the rights back. So they couldn't make any more Children of the Corn movie. He who walks behind the rose is just referred to as He Walks.
Okay.
Because I guess without having the rights to the story, you can't call it He Who Walks Behind the Rose.
Okay.
I don't mind the gender swapping so much, because we have had in Runaway, the main girl is evil. So there is the main villain is a little girl. So that's fine. If you want to swap, do like like an Isaac, the main kid for the first one, the preacher, if you want to make it a girl, that's fine, because it's been done before.
I have a question for you.
Yes.
Is it woke?
So they took Malachi, Courtney Gaines' character, one of the most known characters, more than Isaac. Courtney Gaines from Children of the Corn as Malachi. They made her a girl, or they made him a girl.
Okay.
Now, the problem with this is she's part of this group, but she's intelligent. She's going to college. And the town is basically makes its money off of corn. But a company is going to come in and buy all the corn from them. So basically, they're going to give them a shitload of cash to burn all the crops. And she figures out why they shouldn't do it. So she's not Malachi. At least I'm glad about that. But she kind of looks like Malachi. Like, she's got the blue jeans with the lumberjack shirt. She's got kind of like the wife beater shirt. She's got the red hair. But they made her intelligent. She's not just some hick that follows the bad girl. So the entire movie isn't really Children of the Corn. It's a movie about corn. Kind of like how the movie Corn is just about corn. It's not about killer cows. So some people do die. They do kill the parents in this, but they do it in stupid ways. Like they dig like a big pit and they put the parents in it, and they basically like drowned the parents. Like the best thing in this is right here, Bruce Spence. He was gyro captain in The Road Warrior. He was also in Mad Max Beyond Thunderdome. He played the lead ring wraith in Lord of the Rings, the original Lord of the Rings. He is a character actor. He is one of these beloved guys that people like Spielberg and George Miller and Peter Jackson want him in his movie. You put Bruce Spence in your movie, even if you can't tell who he is, like a ring wraith, your movie has now just gone up. He is one of those guys. How they got him to be in this, I have no fucking idea. Maybe most of the budget went to get him, but there is the lead girl in this is so fucking annoying. God, she is annoying. She goes around with a cowboy hat with like an accent on. She's got cowboy boots. She is so annoying. This is, I think they made this without having permission at all. Or maybe they told King, and King's like, yeah, but you ain't using anything for the fucking book or story. So they had to minimize what they took from the story. It's not even called Gatlin. Gatlin's not even in the movie. This is a completely different town. So if you're going to be in a completely different town, then I'm seeing if they named the town in this. If you're going to be in a completely different town, I would mention Gatlin. That's fine. You could be in a different town, but just go. But didn't kids kill people in Gatlin? Just do something to
Yeah. At
bring
least
it to the
put a nod to the
yeah.
original
Even if
Children of
it's
the
just
Corn.
one reference. My favorite Children of the Corn movie is the Sci-Fi Channel, the one that they made before this, and
Okay.
it's out uncut. It's the closest. It's based off of Stephen King's original script, which was rejected when they did the original movie. It follows the short story like really close. And
Okay.
the problem with that one that a lot of people don't like is the couple that's in the movie argues and hates each other through the entire movie. Like when they get back home, they're getting a divorce and they hate each other. They
Mm-hmm.
hate each other. And that's in the book.
Yeah.
They do it almost too well. But then when they made the movie in the 80s with like Linda Hamilton, it was a couple who loved each other. So they didn't argue at all. So that was completely missing. That this Sci-Fi Channel one has a great scene, and Stephen King wrote this originally. They asked if Stephen King would be involved in this because it's off of his script, and he went, "Fuck no." He didn't want to have anything to do with it, which is why I think he bought the rights back once this film was done. There's a scene where the lead guy, the husband, he just got back from Vietnam, starts having Vietnam flashbacks in the corn. So the corn becomes Vietnam and the kids become Vietnamese. And he starts killing all the kids, like shooting them or cutting their throat. And these are kids because he thinks they're Vietnamese, like they're the Viet Cong.
Wow.
And I'm like, this is brilliant. And it has its sad ending. In the book, the couple die. In this movie, they die. In the one from the 80s, they don't. In fact, they adopt a couple kids that were in the corn. And they adopt them to give them like,
they had
like
to have a happy ending.
Yeah.
Back when, hey, horror movies, we can't have a bad ending. We gotta have a happy ending. I've heard this said from multiple horror authors, and even I believe even King said this. True horror, there's no happy ending. There is no hopeful ending. You either everyone dies, or the main character that survives lost everything to live for.
The Mist.
Yes. Yes. You know, I was gonna pick that one, but I did not have a copy of The Mist, so I just completely forgot about that. But when I first seen The Mist, I hated the ending. As years went on, I grew to appreciate the ending. Because it's just so, like, it's just a gut punch. And it's not, and the original short story ends as soon as they leave I think they go to find the mom, but then it kind of just, and it doesn't end the way the movie does.
Well, he has the gun, but it doesn't have enough bullets for everybody. And they drive off. Like the creature walks over them, like the big kind of like spider creature walks over them. And that's when they go down the misty road. But they do have the gun that doesn't have enough bullets for everybody.
Like four bullets in it, but there's 5 people.
Yeah. And they just drive down the road and it ends. And we don't know what happens.
And it kind of ends like that.
Yeah. But King loves that ending where he shoots everybody. And then, you know, the friggin' army shows up with the mom, who's Carol from Walking Dead, and her daughter on the truck, who we all assumed was dead because she was like one of the first, you know, people to leave the supermarket. My favorite thing with The Mist, and I think you can find this on YouTube, there is an audio production of it that is brilliant. That it's done like a play. But I guess to fund the play, they had to put in product placement.
Okay.
So you would have them in the supermarket. the bugs and everything are attacking, right? They patch up the windows. Two of them sit down, and all of a sudden you hear them. One of the guys eating something, and he goes, "Hey, what are you eating there?" And he goes, "Doritos." "What type of Doritos?" "Cooler Ranch." "Really? I heard they're good." "Oh yeah, they're good." And then you hear, "Shh. What are you drinking there?" "Bud Light." "Really? I heard Bud Light's good." "Oh yeah, it's my favorite beer. Glad they got it on the shelf here after what just happened." This is throughout the entire thing. They are constantly, "Hey, we better put that
This is an
tape up."
audiobook?
This is an audiobook. And I think you can, because I think I
I need to
downloaded
find
it.
it.
Yeah, I used to, at the video store I worked at, we rented out audiobooks, and The Mist was one on cassette. And
Mhm.
once all that was done and the video store was gone and all that stuff was gone, I couldn't find it for a while. And all of a sudden it popped up on YouTube, and I downloaded it. And so I now have a copy of it. I think it's,
Nice.
it's probably like an hour, something like that, maybe less. But yeah, it's like that throughout the whole thing. And they keep
Okay.
mentioning different products that are, like, a religious woman just went insane and killed a soldier, but yet you're talking about, yeah, you know, that San Francisco, sourdough bread. It's really good. Yeah, give me a slice. Give me some of that Oscar
There you
Mayer
go.
bologna while you're at it. So it is
I
brilliant.
need to hear this, man. If you can find it, send me a link to it or something.
I will. I'll see if I can find it again. So it's, but
Awesome.
yeah, I do not. Unlike Pet Cemetery Bloodlines, I do not recommend this to anybody. Not at all.
Okay.
I do not recommend this to anyone.
Even if you're a completist?
Own it, but don't watch it. And try
Okay.
to find it
Okay.
used. So
Don't give them support.
yeah, this is what it has deleted scenes, but I really wish there was audio commentary, or I would love to talk to the director of this to find out why is this. I mean, if I thought Pet Cemetery Bloodlines was removed, why is this so removed? Because you might as well just call it, instead of Children of the Corn, maybe just call it something like, I don't know, Children of the Poppy
Children
Seed.
in the Rose or something like that.
Or, well, like, not even have them in corn, because it really has nothing to do with the movie. I mean, it's the short
Children
story.
on the Farm or something.
Yeah,
Or something
children.
like
Yeah,
that.
because there is a short story that was done right before the original movie came out, and it was one of those
Mhm.
dollar babies, and they bought it from King, and they made it's on YouTube. It's actually really good. It's maybe 12 minutes long, 10-12 minutes long, and it is the
Okay.
short story, more or less. And it's called Disciples of the Crow, and they had to change the title because the film from the 80s, the first one, had just come out, but
Okay.
it technically is the first version of Children of the Corn, and it's not bad.
Okay. Okay.
So I think it's on the
I'll check it out.
same double feature as The Boogeyman, which is available. I think that's also on YouTube, but you could find a VHS or maybe even a Blu-ray, not a Blu-ray, a DVD of it with both of those
DVD.
on it.
Okay.
No,
Alright.
no, I think no, it's not. I think it's The Woman in the Room, which is Frank Darabont's film, and then I think it's Boogeyman, and then there's Disciple of the Crow and maybe Lawnmower Man. I know, yeah, like the short version of Lawnmower Man.
Okay.
Yeah. So,
I'll have to check
but
it out.
that's, yeah. So before we go, so let's try to wrap this up in 10 minutes, because both of us, as I'm
Okay.
sure, have things to do. So I have a thing here
Never
from
have anything to
Screen
do,
Rant.
John. Never have nothing to do.
I do.
Lying to yourself.
So this is, I have nothing. So this is from Screen Rant, and it's every actor who starred in multiple Stephen King movies,
Okay.
which is what I told you that I absolutely love, that people are so dedicated to King as far as a movie goes. So let's see. Okay, so every Stephen King story is set in Derry. So we have Kathy Bates, who has been in Misery, Dolores Claiborne, and The Stand. Then we have Morgan Freeman, who is in Shawshank Redemption and Dreamcatcher.
Okay.
John Cusack, who was in
I have one of his movies.
Oh, yeah. He was in Stand By Me.
Okay.
He is the deceased older brother of Denny. Okay. And then he was also in 1408. That's with Samuel L. Jackson.
I have it right here.
And The Cell with Samuel L. Jackson. 1408 is great. I forgot that he was in Stand By Me. And
again, I also have a copy of The Misery.
Okay. Then we have Ed Harris, who is in the Father's Day segment in Creepshow. He is also in, he plays Alan Pangborn, the cop, in Needful Things.
Okay.
And he has an uncredited cameo in the Stand miniseries. He's the general that commits suicide.
Okay.
Gary
I don't have
Sinise,
the Stand miniseries, unfortunately. I mean, I do have it, but I don't have it with me.
There's
I actually
a
have
great
it
box
twice. I got it on DVD and Blu-ray.
Yeah, The Stand is the original one. Is it's on a collection with the Langoliers and one other. There's three.
I actually have the Stand DVD, the DVD set, the big thick set one that has like 2 discs. It's like in a gray box, gray DVD box. I kept that because that's the first way I've seen it.
Okay. Yeah, that I don't have. I have it as a collection with 2 other movies, but I'm blanking on what the other one is. Langoliers I know is one. Golden Years. That miniseries that was on TV. So then we have Gary Sinise, who is in The Stand.
Okay.
He was also in The Green Mile.
Okay.
And so Gary Sinise starred as Stu Redman in The Stand. His signature role, is Lieutenant Dan. Later, he played a reporter in The Green Mile, and then reunited with Tom Hanks for Forrest Gump.
Okay.
Yeah, because both of them were in The Green Mile. Okay. Drew Barrymore. She was, of course, in Firestarter.
Yeah.
She's also in Cat's Eye. So she's kind of throughout Cat's Eye a little bit, but she's mostly in the short story General.
Okay.
Thomas Jane is in Dreamcatcher and The Mist, and he's also in 1922, which was a Netflix show. And he will soon produce an adaptation of Stephen King's From a Buick 8.
Okay. I've listened to 1922. I was a great short story.
Okay. Yeah, that I don't know. I know of the title, but I don't know what it's about. Rob Lowe. So he was in The Stand. He's also in Salem's Lot.
Okay.
So he's in the second adaptation of that. Samuel L. Jackson. So 1408 and The Cell. Then Martin Sheen, The Dead Zone, and Firestarter.
Okay.
Then Jeffrey D. Munn, who is a regular when it comes to Frank Darabont. So he was in like Shawshank Redemption. He was in pretty much he's in like every Frank Darabont movie. And he was in like The Walking Dead for season. So he was
You said Jeffrey D. Munn, right?
Yeah, like DEMU.
He was also in Storm of the Century.
Yeah, Storm of the Century, The Mist, Shawshank Redemption.
Mhm.
Yeah, Green Mile. So he's a Frank Darabont regular.
Yeah.
David Morse. He's in The Langoliers
Okay.
and The Green Mile.
Okay.
Harry Dean Stanton, who is in Christine, and he's also in The Green Mile.
Yeah.
Miguel Ferrer. He's in one of my all-time favorite King movies that's out of print, and it's expensive to hell to buy. So he's Randall Flagg's assistant in The Stand, but he's also he's in one of my favorite films, and it's a great short story that's in Nightmares and Dreamscapes called Night Flyer. That's the one with the he's a tabloid reporter that's chasing Dracula, but it's all done through planes. So Dracula flies a plane. Inside the plane is dirt, and his coffin is in the plane. And he flies from airport, like small airport, to airport, and he kills the people at the airport. And Miguel Ferrer, who his character works for a tabloid, like one of those ones, like, you know, Bigfoot got me pregnant type of tabloid. And so he's chasing Dracula from airport to airport in his own plane. And eventually they meet up, and it is so good, but it's hard to find. I think at something like Zia Records, they even have it in like a plastic box that you can't steal the disc, and they charge like $50 or $60 for the DVD.
Oh wow!
But it is really good. Night Flyer.
I'll have to check it out.
Yeah. Bonnie Bedelia. So she was in the original Salem's Lot from the 70s and also Needful Things. Timothy Hutton. And so he is in, this would be in my top 5 for one of my all-time favorite Stephen King movies, The Dark Half.
Okay.
Which is George Romero, which is great. And he played 2 different characters, George Stark and Thad Beaumont. And he was also in Secret Window. That's with Johnny Depp.
That's one of my favorite movies right there.
I love Secret Window.
It's a great
movie. Matt Fuhrer, who is also in the remake of Dawn of the Dead, which is not Stephen King, but it's damn close. So yeah, Matt Fuhrer, Max Headroom, love seeing him in stuff. He played Trash Can Man in The Stand. He was Dr. Charles George in the anthology Quicksilver Highway, which I mentioned. He was also in Desperation. And he was in Bag of Bones and has a small role as Mr. Clarkson in Riding the Bullet.
There you go.
Steven Weber, the guy from Wings, I was blanking on his name. So he was, of course, Jack Torrance in the miniseries for The Shining, and he was also in Desperation. Both films directed by Mick Garris.
Yeah.
William Sadler, who I got to meet, very nice man. He was also in Tales from the Crypt Demon Knight, which is kind of Stephen King-y. He was also the Grim Reaper in Bill and Ted. So he was in The Shawshank Redemption. He's in The Green Mile and The Mist. So he's a Frank Darabont guy.
There you go.
And Tom Skerritt, who's in The Dead Zone. Yep, Dead Zone. And he's also in Desperation. God, a lot of these actors are in Desperation. I need to get that. So Dead Zone and Desperation. Frances Sternhagen. You would recognize her if you saw her. Very recognizable actress. I can't think of anything that she played That's not Stephen King, but she is the wife of the sheriff in Misery. She's also in The Mist. She's the one who slaps the insane woman, like the nutty religious woman.
Oh yeah, okay.
No, is that her? It's either her or the blonde that's from The Mist. I mean from no, maybe it isn't her. The blonde from Walking Dead. I forget, but yeah, but she is in The Mist. So Misery in The Mist.
Okay.
Brooke Adams, who's also in, and you would know her from Invasion of the Body Snatchers, the remake. She The Dead Zone, and Sometimes They Come Back. Oh, Andre Braugher, great actor. Sadly, he passed. He is in Salem's Lot, the second one, the 2004 one with Rob Lowe, and he's in The Mist. So he plays the kind of the jerky neighbor.
That's the one that said he was going to sue him or something if he touched him or something.
Yeah, because of like the tree and all that.
Yeah.
Pierce Brosnan. So he's in Lawnmower Man, the original, and he's also in Bag of Bones.
Got it up, Pierce Brosnan.
Patricia Clarkson, The Green Mile, and so she was in the TV remake of Carrie. She played Carrie's mom, Margaret White.
Okay.
James Cromwell, who we know best probably from Babe, he was in The Green Mile. He's also in the 2004 Salem's Lot. He plays Father Callahan. And he's let's see, a corrupt priest who ends up playing a big role in and I guess that his character plays a big role in the Dark Tower book series.
Yes. Yeah, Father Callahan is big, like one of the connections. For some of them that people that may not know, like the big connections between all of his books, like mainly a lot of the characters are just kind of like mentioned in books, but the three big players are books. If you want to read The Dark Tower, people say to read Insomniac. Or Insomniac. Is it Insomniac?
No, Insomnia.
Insomnia. I'm sorry. I don't know what I'm saying. I'm thinking of the
close.
video game. I'm thinking of the video game publisher that makes games. That's called Insomniac. So Insomnia, Salem's Lot, because of Father Callahan, and it has a big as a little bit of an influence because of it talks more about and Eye of the Dragon. Those are the four you want to read if you just want to read. But people say it's best to read his books in chronological order, or watch the movies in chronological order, whichever one.
Yeah, there you go. Annabeth Gish. She's also on X-Files. In fact, there it is. Yeah, she was Monica Reyes on the X-Files, but she is in Desperation and Bag of Bones.
Okay.
David Keith, who is not Keith David. So David Keith is white, Keith David is black, and we all get them confused. He is in Firestarter and the 2002 remake of Carrie.
Okay. That's the miniseries,
Firestarter
right?
would. Yeah, that's the 2002 is the TV miniseries, and then the Firestarter is the one with Drew Barrymore, not the awful remake. E.G. Marshall, Creep Show. He's on the Creeping Up on You segment with the cockroaches.
Okay.
And he's also in Tommyknockers, the Tommyknockers.
Okay.
Ron Perlman, who we know as Hellboy, he was in Sleepwalkers. Oh, I didn't know that. And he plays the big baddie in Desperation. He plays the cop. God, a lot of people are in desperation, man. I'm gonna have to buy that.
I gotta watch
Casey
this movie.
Siemaszko. I don't remember it. I did see it, but I don't remember it. Casey Siemaszko played a small role in Stand By Me. Oh yeah, he was one of the gang guys with Keith Sutherland. Yeah, of Ace's gang. He is also Hatch, the character Hatch, in Storm of the Century, which has Tim
Okay.
Daly, the other guy from Wings. So we
Okay.
have two people from Wings and Stephen King. Henry Thomas, who we did bring up, mostly known for E.T., works a lot with Mike Flanagan now. So he's in desperation. What the hell? Okay, I'm ordering Desperation. When we get done with this, I'm going to go order Desperation or see if Zia Records has it. He's also in Gerald's Game, which is Mike Flanagan, which is great.
Yeah.
And of course, he's in Dr. Sleep, which is also Mike Flanagan. He plays the ghost of Jack Torrance.
Mike Flanagan is like the modern day Mick Garris at this point.
Yeah, he kind of took over and now he is just friggin' awesome. Because Midnight Mass is his version of Salem's Lot. He's made that very clear that he wanted to do Salem's Lot, and so he did Midnight Mass instead. He just made it his own.
Yeah.
And I think that's it. So I think Henry Thomas was the last one on here, because then it says every Stephen King movie star in Hulu's the Castle Rock. So if we do another Stephen King one, we'll hop into some of the other actors then. So we won't do it all now.
Okay. There you go.
But that's a lot, man. At least 2 to 3, some even more.
Yeah. Hey.
So
why if it's not broken, don't fix it.
Yeah. If you love it,
if you have certain people that know how to act.
I have been in a Stephen King movie. Well, I haven't been in it. I wasn't in it, but I worked on it. A friend of mine, a director, did one of the Dollar Babies called Mute.
Okay.
And it's a short film based on the thing. It's like half an hour long, maybe somewhere in there.
Okay.
And I worked crew on Mute, and so I have worked on a Stephen King film.
There you go, man. There you go.
Yay! I just wasn't in it, but I did. I was behind the scenes.
Hey, at least you were part of it, right?
Yeah. I can actually legitimately say that I worked on a Stephen King project.
There you go.
Yeah. All right, man. Anything else?
I think we pretty much touched on everything. So, I mean, Stephen King, man, gotta love him. You can't. I mean, may not agree with him politically, or you do agree with him politically. Doesn't bother me either way. But you can't deny that the man is a legend, man.
Oh yeah, definitely. So I wish that he would calm down about some stuff, and I don't mean political. But like, who gives a shit if they keep making Children of the Corn? He probably gets a check in the mail. What does it matter?
Probably.
Who cares?
I mean, I think every one of his movies that they adapt, he probably gets something from it.
Yeah,
because from what I understand, I mean, I think he has everything has to go through him before they even do anything. I think. Well, I'm not sure about everything, but the majority of his short stories and stuff. If you want to do a short story, you gotta, get in contact with him. He has to approve it. He has to read the script and say, okay, do I want this? Do I not want this? And then basically it's he can say yay or nay.
Dollar Babies and probably some of the bigger films. I think the Children of the Corn and all that, because he bought the copyright back. So that means that somebody else owned it, so he would have no say, but they probably give him a cut. But it's just what does it matter? So what? If there's 3 Mangler movies, who cares? As long as you're getting the check. What does it matter if there's 4 or 5 Mangler movies? Who cares?
I mean, I guess some people are just very, very close to their work, and they want to see it done right.
10 movies later, maybe say something after Children of the Corn 2, I don't know, you guys aren't going in the right direction with this. I gave you 2. I don't think you need to make 3. So it's just like, who cares? Just who cares? I mean, fuck, I'm even buying the shitty ones. I mean, come on. So what?
Yeah.
Calm down, Stephen King. Calm down.
Calm down. Calm down.
Mellow
Chill.
Stephen.
Chill. You're getting up there in age, man. We don't need you. We don't
Cranky
need you
Stephen
like
King.
no. Cranky Stephen King.
Cranky
That's
old
about
King.
it.
Don't go by that house. That's Cranky King's house. Don't go by there.
Cranky
He'll
King.
yell at you. He'll throw a Dean Koontz book at you.
Dean Koontz book at you. Sounds about right.
I know. I was hit by dragon tears. All right, we done.
I think we're done.
All right, there we go. There's a video we could do. Dean Koontz movies. There's enough of those.
Never read a Dean Koontz book, so
oh my
I've
God,
tried.
really?
I've tried. I don't know,
Watchers
man.
is great. The movies are awful, but
I have to try one of his books at some point.
And Watchers 1 stars Corey Haim. Corey Feldman is in Stand By Me, and Watchers Reborn stars Mark Hamill, who is just as insane politically as Stephen King.
Has he left the country yet?
No. None of them will. Dumbest thing I've ever heard.
I'm leaving the country. Arr. If so and so gets elected, I'm leaving the country.
You ain't leaving the country, because if you talk like this to any other person in a lot of these countries, your head would be cut off. That's the great thing about America. You could talk shit about the president and not get shot. You know.
There you go.
Yeah.
The Constitution gave us freedom of speech.
Yep. Even if we don't like it. So, but there we go. We'll end on that. All right, man. Thank you, everybody. Appreciate it. And next month is going to be Sylvester Stallone. And we're probably going to be doing Escape Plan. Yeah, that's it. Escape Plan.
Yeah.
There's 3 of those. And then January, we're going to do Stallone for Expendables 1 through 4. Because last time we did Rocky
and then
Rambo.
Yeah.
So that was December, January. So we're going to follow that again. Once we're done with these, can we not do Stallone anymore? Is that all of his franchises?
We can move on to, I don't know, Arnold Schwarzenegger, maybe?
Maybe. Burt Reynolds or somebody do.
Burt Reynolds.
He's got some films. Smokey and the Bandit. There's like 4 of those.
Yeah.
Something like
whatever
that.
you want to do, man. We'll figure it out.
Yeah. All right, everybody. All right. Thank you for watching this. We really appreciate it. Comment down below with what Stephen King movies you like or dislike or anything like that. You know, just like, comment, share, do all that good stuff. Right down there. Subscribe. Thank you. Yes. So, all right. See you later, everybody. Bye.
Take it easy, guys.